Hello and good evening, NRL and motorsports fans the world over. Welcome to round 2 of the NRL's 5th season. We have some racers that are chomping at the bit to do their respective race and some that are a little less enthusiastic given what they're up against. My name is Toon and I am accompanied by two beautiful gentlemen, our resident points and tire specialist Slow-Mo, as well as our own personal car guru Leo. Slow-Mo, how are we feeling about this evening's offerings?
Two really awesome combos. Both cars are super fun to drive. A little bit of strategy with both of these, so it's going to be exciting to see how these guys handle these tracks.
Good to hear. Leo, we are on the cusp of the semifinals. How do you feel about what we've seen so far this season?
Thanks, Toon. I'm feeling great about it, man. Like, there's been some live action everywhere. Anytime we've pointed the camera there's been something going on, and it's been really tight and close racing, and I love it, and I can't wait to see more tonight.
Awesome to hear that. Now, before we get into the festivities, I would like to take a moment to thank our sponsors for their generous support of the league. We here at the NRL would love to give an extra special thank you to Hankey's Tavern in beautiful St. Louis, Missouri, for sponsoring the league and their support over the past few seasons by airing our broadcast to the beautiful patrons there. If you're in the St. Louis area and want to take a load off, then go no further than Hankey's Tavern. Hankey's Tavern. If you ain't first, we're open till 1 a.m. We would also love to give an equally special thank you to Little J CPA. Tax season is just about over, so if you've been procrastinating, then consider reaching out to Little J CPA for your tax or accounting needs. Steer clear of tax troubles with Little J CPA. With all that said and done, let's go and take a look at the current standings so far for Divisions B and A respectively post Stewart's Inquiry. Starting with Division B, we have PHG Shaggy 88 leading the charge with 25 points, followed by Arnax close behind with 18. Rounding out our top three, we have Stumpy, and 3 points behind him is Sugar Shuffled. But he's being tailed very close by our top 5 rounder. That would be Corridor 71 with 11 points. We have PHG Mr. Ormond with 8, Beef Castle with 6, Crew Love with 4, Angry Fredbird with 2, J Senior or Jesser with 1, and then we've got a 4-way tie for 11th between BHR Fernando B, PHG Strict 9, RSR Zilla, and Z48 sitting with nil points. So we're still looking pretty close here, folks. It's only the second round. Going on over to Division A, we have PHG Jorge Sr. leading the A front, followed by Bobajito with 18, Rick Shear rounding out our top 3 with 15, followed by Subi 15, Talon rounding out our top 5 with the True Serum in P6, PHG Papa in P7, Dark and Azriel in P8, Alicos with the P9 spot and 2 points, followed by Chief Apollo 11 rounding out our top 10. We've got a 4-way tie for P11 between RSR Ace R1, Lactastics, PHG Fast Cougar QC, and Deputy Fishtail sitting with 0 at the moment, but there's still plenty of time to turn that around. Now, with that well established, let's go into the race details for tonight's Division B race. So, for the Division B race this round, we'll be over in the land of the rising sun, where we'll be at Kyoto Driving Park on the Yamagiwa layout and the Nissan GTR GT500 2008 variant for 21 laps with racing mediums and racing softs available. Racing softs are required. There'll be a 10-minute qualifier. There will be a 5 times tire wear rate, 2 times fuel consumption. There will be a grid start with a false start check, and heavy damage is on. Now, let's kick it over to Slow-Mo to explain how the point system works to refresh our memories. Slow-Mo?
Thank you so much, Toon. As you saw there with the standings, as these guys go through each round, they're going to accumulate points and try and get themselves a spot in the finals. So the race winner for tonight's going to get 25 points, 18 points goes to the second place, 15 points goes to third place, and down the line there. Keep in mind there is also a fastest lap bonus, but they have to come in the top 10 in order to get that extra point. And again, those drivers are all trying to accumulate enough points to get one of those coveted spots in the finals.
Thank you, Slow-Mo. Couldn't do this without you. Making our way over to the driver lineup, we have Angry Fredbird, Arnax, Beef Castle, BHR Fernando B, Corridor 71, Jesser, Crew Love 11, PHG Mr. Ormond, PHG Shaggy Do 88, PHG Strict 9, RSR Zilla, Dumpy, Sugar Shuffles, and Z48 Car 88. Listed under their names are their team affiliations or free agency, whichever one is more relevant to them, and also their socials for YouTube and or Twitch, should those be applicable. Feel free to go check them out and see if they're live, but please make sure to leave this tab unmuted so you don't miss any of the racing action. All right, so I know you two were on track with the drivers at some point this week. Starting with you, Slow-Mo, what did you think of the car and track combination?
Well, not only did I ride along with a couple of the drivers, I did some laps on my own. It's so much fun. The car is just a rocket ship. You can get this thing really to fly through this track. There's a couple points that are, you got to be cautious with because, one wrong move and it'll put you into the wall very quickly. So, I think these guys have their hands full today, although, as we know, they put in a ton of practice to make sure that they're going to be out here putting up good lap times. So I think we're going to see some pretty impressive lap times tonight.
All right, fair enough. And Leo, what is your take on this combination?
I always do love me some Group 2 action. I'm not the strongest at this track that we're at right now, but with these Group 2 cars and the amount of downforce that they got, it felt buttery smooth. I will say that. There's a couple of sections like Slow-Mo were saying where if you hit a curb wrong, you could go flying into the wall, and with that heavy damage on, that could almost be detrimental to you. So these guys are going to have to be careful of not overdriving this car at all. And for the other race A, that little Volkswagen is a ton of fun in the rain.
I see. Never thought I'd hear you say the words fun and in the rain in the same sentence. But all right, let's go jump on track and take a look at how qualifying is going. So we are currently on board with PHG Mr. Ormond in a red version of the GTR. Now, Leo, we were talking about this before we went live. Dirty Air. What parts of this track do you think is going to play the biggest factor?
Sorry about that. The parts where it gets really bunched up. So like your S's that you go through, the downhill section going into the chicane and the uphill chicane, I believe, are going to play the biggest factors. That's a lot of places where you can carry a lot of speed, and you're going to feel that other car pulling you to a direction you don't want to go.
Okay, so the section that Ormond just went through in Corridor would probably be one of those where Dirty Air could really bite you on the hind end?
Yes, indeed. And especially going down in that tight chicane at the bottom there before making that tight right-hander. That one I definitely could see it being a problem too.
Okay, well, let's go jump on board with Sugar Shuffles in a Stand Up to Cancer livery. Always love to see him promoting a good cause. Coming up through the S's, where, I could definitely see where that Dirty Air is going to kick in. And coming through the first time check for his hot lap with a 21.661. As you can see over in the picture-in-picture view, Sugar Shuffles is live right now. So if you want, leave this tab unmuted, pop over there and tell him we sent you and say hello for us. Coming through the second time check, 30 seconds, .339, and into the chicane. Ooh, getting squirrely, but he is able to save it. Well done to Sugar Shuffles. That will cost him a little bit of time, but I don't think it's going to slow him down too terribly much. Making his way into the hairpin. How will he take this? Short shifting into second and belting it on out, using all the track available. Very well done. Third time check, 1 minute, .5. Looks like he's on track for a pretty good one. Ooh, getting a little bumpy, but is able to save it. Don't want to be cursing somebody in qualifying. It's too soon for that. And coming into the last corner and going up the hill for Sugar Shuffles. Hugging the left side, and what will it be? 24, 25, 26.770. Well done to Sugar Shovels, and it looks like Shaggy Doo had an answer with a 125.736. Ormond coming in just slightly behind Shaggy, and Corridor overtaking Sugar Shovels. It's all coming in now. Yep, these drivers are already starting to really just start getting the ball rolling. And Slow-Mo, I want to kick it over to you really quick. What do you predict the average will be for the qualifying times that we see? If we had like a benchmark.
You know, I think the drivers, on average, are probably going to try to get to that 25, that high 25 mark. Some of the guys might be in the low 26s, but I think that, you know, if you can run a 25.9, I think you're in a pretty good spot.
Okay, that's really good to know. Leo, would you concur?
I would, Toon. I wouldn't also be surprised to see if someone gets into the high 24s. I definitely could see it, but you'd be really pushing that car to its limit.
Okay, so really we're going to see anywhere from like the pinnacle being a high 24 all the way over to... Okay. All right, yeah, I can see that. We've still got about 4 or 5.5 minutes left, so it's really anybody's game at this point. We've got Jesser up in P1, overtaking Shaggy by just slightly over 200th of a second as he goes into the pits to probably get a fresh set of tires on. And here we have Shaggy coming up towards the hairpin. He's definitely in position to get a overtake and a pole position back. Let's see how he does. Oh, I'm sorry, he's actually coming out of his outlap. But point still remains. Down by 200ths, 300th ahead of Corridor. Really, Shaggy or Corridor, if they can just set a really good lap, get the overtake done for P1 isn't really going to take much. We've got Shaggy running in through the S's. Looking at the driver card, Shaggy is a team member of Papa's Healthy Game, driving on a controller, and last time we saw him was round 1 2 weeks ago, where he won the race at Daytona Tri-Oval in that Ford GT LM race car. That was a really fun one. Coming in through the time check, Shaggy is 0.3 up on his fastest time, so yeah, it's looking like he'll be setting a low 125 if he can keep up this momentum, but he does have to be mindful of this traffic up ahead. Zilla yielding to the faster car. Great show of sportsmanship and track awareness. Coming in, it looks like Strict 9 got out of the way too. Excellent awareness from both drivers. That's what you love to see. You know, NRL, we got drivers that are just built different. They're aware. They know what they're doing. They're professional, world-class drivers. Kaz, what are you doing? Look at these guys. They're leaving it all on the track. Coming in through the final corner and onto the start-finish straight, Shaggy will be hugging the left side from the looks of it, and coming across the line with a 1:25.720. Was not able to carry that momentum and get the new fastest lap. So jumping on over to RSR Zilla, who is part of Team Real Squad Racing, driving on the Moza R12 with the FSR Formula wheel. Last saw him on round 1 2 weeks ago on Daytona Tri-Oval, where he finished P13. You can find him over on YouTube at Zilla 2013. And coming into the downhill section, getting right up on that curb, I believe that's actually the optimal racing line for that, using all the track available. And coming into the downhill section is a 10th up on his personal fastest time, but not on the overall, which fair enough, got to get into a rhythm. Misses the chicane a little bit, but is able to hold on to it just. Well done to Zilla on that one. Coming on into the hairpin, how is it going to fare for dear old Zilla? Giving it about 55 miles an hour and not short shifting. Okay, so some are short shifting, some aren't. Unfortunately, I think the chicane cost him over a half second on his time. Luckily, there's still 2.5 minutes left to really bounce back. And in the picture-in-picture mode, you can see that Zilla is live at this moment. Again, feel free to leave this tab unmuted and go say hi for us. Coming up into the start-finish straight, what will Zilla be setting as he is at a 25, a 26, 27, Ooh, 8 tenths down on his fastest lap, but hey, it's a new lap, so get back on there and get to it. It looks like we're going to jump over to Corridor in a Mexican Pride livery on his GTR. I like the way that looks. It's got a very nice, it's got a very shiny green on the front. I do like a shiny car. Now coming in to the downhill section, and he's actually a quarter of a second up on the fastest lap overall. So let's see if Corridor can hold on. Corridor is a free agent driving the Logitech G Pro wheel. Last appeared in round 1, where he placed P5 overall. You can find him on YouTube over at Corridor7110. Now coming to the third time check, he is 0.03 of a second down on his current fastest lap. I wonder where these guys are losing their time. It seems it's very different from driver to driver. Leo, was there any part of this track that you found yourself losing time on?
Indeed, there is. The downhill chicane going down into that little tight section there. I don't know what to call it, but that is where I struggle the most at on this track. If you don't get that sequence right of that quick right to left, and you get on that curve too much, I struggle there. So that's where I think most of these guys are having a problem with. I've seen some of these guys going into the pits to put fresh tires on immediately after their lap, so they must know something that we don't. That may be helping them.
Yeah, honestly, you're onto something there. But as we jump on board with Arnax, we can see Arnax is a free agent on the Fanatec CSL Direct Drive 8 Nm plus Drive Hub. Don't know what all that means, but sweet. And we last saw him finish P2 in round 1 at Daytona Tri-Oval, and it looks like we had somebody in the wall. I don't know if Shaggy's just doing. I don't know if Shaggy's doing a tire change or if he was qualifying on the medium. So if we take a look at Arnax, who is going to be finishing his final lap, down a little bit. But maybe we could see Arnax pull off a last hurrah, and we'll just have to see what happens as he comes into the final corner, using all the track, getting up on the curbing, and just revving it out. Let's see what he'll set for his final lap. A 25, a 26. All right, looks like a 26.730, just slightly over a tenth under his personal fastest lap, but still a really good time. Definitely faster than what I could have done. And jumping on board with Strict 9, my goodness, look at his tires. Those things are shot. Moving over to Fernando Button, who is coming through the second chicane and into the final corner. Also front right tire, not looking too hot. Coming on around and taking a slightly tighter line, all things considered. What will he be setting as he comes across the line? It is going to be a 129.454. All right, I think that might be everybody. Yep, that appears to be the case. All in all, good hustle from all the drivers. Leo, what do you think? Good hustle?
Oh, indeed, man. It's hard to keep your concentration going this fast around this track. It is very technical. I found myself kind of losing track where I was and then ending up almost wrecking out because I wasn't paying attention. So these guys are going to struggle with their concentration for 21 laps, I believe.
I believe in him. But anyway, let's go and take a look at the classified results for qualifying. So, taking pole position will be Jesser with the overall fastest lap of a 125.679. Following 0.04 of a second behind him in P2 will be PHG Shaggy Doo 88. And following Shaggy Doo and not even 0.08 of a second, not even a tenth off of P1 is Mr. Ormond. Following in P4, still under the 10th territory, is Corridor 71 with an overall fastest lap of 125.766. That is a ridiculously tight starting 4. Rounding out our top 5 will be Sugar Shuffles with a 125.917, followed by Stumpy in P6, RSR Zilla in P7, Beef Castle in P8, Angry Fredbird in P9. Rounding out our top 10 will be Arnax, followed by Krulov, PHG Strict 9, and BHR's Fernando Button in P13, rounding out our starting grid. Now, before we get into the racing action, I'm getting word from production that we have some donations. I see we have a $5 donation from dear old Hector. Glad to see you around. No message, but just a happy controller. So, you know what? We'll take that. And I also got word that we had a $10 tip from T-Case. And it says, love NRL on a Friday night. So thank you, T-Case. And thank you, Hector, for your generous donations. It goes straight into the pool for the drivers, the producers, the stewards, and, well, us up here in the booth. So on behalf of everybody here at the NRL, we thank you. And we would also like to thank Junior NDI for the gifted membership. Now, before we wrap everything up, so Slim, I got to pose a question to you. For this car, we saw it's really planted, honestly. Like, I didn't expect a 2008 to be so, like, firmly planted on the track, especially on the mediums. But I did notice that those front rights were definitely getting chewed through. And in your practice, when you ran some laps by yourself, at what point were you starting to really be concerned about, the tire wear on that tire?
Yeah, I mean, we all know the tire degradation on those softs goes quick. I was pushing really, really hard, and I was ripping through a pair of softs in 3 or 4 laps. So, I wouldn't be surprised if you see some of these guys that might be able to stretch that out a little further than I do. But they're going to go quick. They're definitely going to go quick. So it'll be very interesting to see what strategy these guys choose, what tire compounds they're starting on, how many stops they're coming in for. I think there's quite a bit that could be determined with their strategy, and there's a lot of different approaches they can take tonight.
Understood. I can't wait to see what these drivers come up with. And I also see that BHR's Fernando Button had gifted 10 channel memberships. Thank you for your generosity, Fernando. I'm sure everybody that received one is very happy that they got gifted a channel membership to this illustrious platform. So I think with all of that being said, let's go and jump on track and see if these drivers are ready for their race. All right, everybody is lined up, just waiting for those lights to go on and then off again. Round 2, this is definitely a round where the points will matter because we got the semifinals next week, and that will be an elimination round. And they're lined up, and nobody jumps the line, and they're off. Looks like Shaggy had a pretty terrific start, but so did Jesser. But Shaggy does have the inside line, so let's see what happens. It looks like Shaggy was able to stick his nose in and get P1, and he is out of there. My goodness, he is just zooming away right now. Looks like Mr. Ormond was able to also get the overtake done on Jesser, but looks like Corridor is not able to get P3 off his hands quite yet. And look at that gaggle of cars, Leo. There's just a bunch of them right now.
Yeah, that's quite the Congo line, as some people would say. That would make me extremely nervous, especially like we said earlier with the dirty air. I'd be very cautious going into these next few corners. And we got Corridor off.
Oh, no, we got Stumpy off the wall.
Oh,
no, that wasn't Stumpy. I'm sorry. Let's see if we can take a look at what happened there. Oh, and it was... Oh. Okay.
I think that was Beef Castle.
That might have been Beef Castle. All right, and coming into the downhill section, looks like everything is fine. Sugar Shuffle seeing an opportunity on the inside, but couldn't make it, and looks like Corridor just lost the tail end of the car. Oh, good on Corridor, and yep, there goes Beef Castle as well in the Taco Bell livery. Liv Moss. Unfortunate to see, but hopefully we won't see any more drama like that for the remainder of the race. Luckily, it seems that Beef Castle and Corridor didn't lose too much time from the looks of everything. They will have to, unfortunately, box to go get that damage taken care of. It looks like Corridor is going to go and get that taken care of post-haste. Honestly, I don't blame him. So it's starting lap 2. We've got Arnax sitting about a second and a half behind Stumpy. Stumpy is just 2/10. Oh, we've got a tight little bunch here. Okay. So coming into the long left-hander, Stumpy holding onto that curb and trying to find a good opportunity to stay within Sugar Truffle slipstream. Slimo, could you enlighten me on if anybody started on the softs?
You know, we have one driver. Beef Castle is the only guy in the field that started on soft. Everybody else on medium.
All right, so okay, so we might see like a soft, medium, soft. I don't know. I can't really predict if it's going to be a 1 or a 2 stopper. Maybe you could enlighten me, Leo.
You know, I was thinking that same thing earlier. I was running a few laps. Mediums, I think you could push it to about 12 laps per set of tires. So maybe a 2-stopper type deal where you do 2 stints on mediums and 1 on the soft, because I could only get the softs to last 5 laps. Me personally, I like to be cautious with my tires, and I don't like running out of them because then I can't turn. So that's the strategy I would go to, but I'm sure somebody will be crazy enough to actually do a 1-stopper if they're crazy enough to do it. I don't think that would happen, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. And I mean, if you could only get 5 laps out of the softs, that's going to be very telling because you are very delicate on your tires. You baby your tires quite a bit. And I don't know how you do it.
I have very light inputs. Very light inputs. That's honestly the key to it. Yeah. Honestly.
Well. Okay. I thought there was more to it, but what? You just turned more gently then?
Generally, yes. I'm not turning the wheel as much. I'm letting the trail braking do most of the work.
Oh, and Mr. Robots tail end. Oh, he just saved it.
I gotta stop making my blood pressure go up.
Yep, Toon, we actually had Stumpy spin out as well. I think he was in 5th or 6th position. He's dropped down to 9th now.
Oh, yeah. I think I see the aftermath of that in the picture-in-picture. Yep. You said he's in what position right now, Sullivan?
He's back to 10th position now.
10th position? Okay. Let's see if we can get a replay of what happened. So coming into the hairpin. Delicate on the, and he just lost it, dude. Okay, I think I see what happened there. Power oversteer must have kicked in because he had 2 tires on the curb. Unfortunate, but good to see him going in and getting the damage repaired as quickly as possible. Moving on over to Krulov, who is about 2 3/4 of a second behind Fernando Button, but has a very sizable lead over Beef Castle at the moment at almost 13.5 as he comes through the S's and heads up to the first time check. Currently 0.06 of a second up on his personal fastest lap. And into the downhill left-hander. I can already hear those tires begging for mercy under just the sheer understeer of that. Coming into the second time check, and it looks like he lost a little bit of time as he comes through the chicane. Krulov is part of Team UFO on a Lovtech G29. Last time we saw Krulov was in round 1, where he finished P8. And you can find him on YouTube at, what's up? Matthew Bulwark 7374. Okay. Yeah, all one word. Now, as we see Krulov coming into the second chicane bit. Looks like everything is all fine and dandy there. As he comes up to the final corner, it looks like he might be slowly starting to close that gap between himself and Fernando. At least, according to he is definitely. That time is coming down by the hundreds at this point. So I definitely could see Krulov and Fernando having a battle for their positions here shortly. Moving on over to Strict9, who is about half a second behind Beef Castle, and it looked like he got a teensy bit squirrely, but it looks like the assists were there to help him out. Beef Castle running into the box, so Strict9 will take P10 for the time being. And coming up into turn 1, taking a bit of a late break in there, in my uneducated opinion. And also, Pierre Strickland still has the rear engine, or rear bumper and left wheel damage. And coming in through the S's, looks like it's not really slowing him down all that much as he comes across the line and into the downhill left-hander. This is really where that damage is going to come into play. And looks like he's going wide and bringing it back in. Not bad at all. Very nicely held. Also, it appears he has Corridor just half a second behind him. Trick 9 is a part of Team Papa's House of Game on the Thrustmaster T598. Last saw him at Daytona, where he finished P12. And you can find him on YouTube at Marty Strickland-14G. And it looks like Corridor will get the overtake done, but will he make it stick as they come into the hairpin? And it looks like it's good. Corridor sticks it and takes P10 off of Strick 9's hands. Heading in towards the second chicane, and wow, they're all bunched up right there. Three-way bout for P10. You got Corridor, Strick 9, and Stumpy, all within, well, not even a second of each other. And into the uphill section for the start-finish straight, and it looks like Stumpy may have got a slightly better run than Strick 9. And moving on across the line, Strick 9 that's a new personal fastest lap at a 1:29.4. I'm going to turn one. Oh, it also looks like Stumpy was able to get the overtake done as we jump on board with the front runners of this race. Mr. Ormond currently has P1 at the moment, just ahead of Shaggy Doo by about a tenth and a half. But we've also got Jesser in tow right now, so this three-way bout could turn into some exciting racing, or they could wind up slowing themselves down and would allow the likes of Sugar Shovels and Zilla to come in. What do you think, Leo?
Yeah, Toon, that's the unfortunate part about battling. They're not careful. They will slow themselves down and let Sugar Shovels catch up. Especially with these cars, the downforce and the aero. It's pretty easy to catch up when you're, what, half a second behind? So, but it looks like Shaggy and Mr. Ormond have pulled away just a little bit from Gesture. So we'll see how that pans out in this turn. See if we can get the speed on the uphill section.
All right. Now, refresh my memory. The penalty line's on the start-finish straight, isn't it?
Yes. Yes, it is. So that will kill all your momentum.
But does it operate like... Oh, what was that other one? There was another track in the game. The name is eluding me right now. But the start-finish straight is also the penalty line, but you could go into the pits to serve your penalty. Would that even work for this?
You know, I think it might. We'll have to see. I don't want anybody to get a penalty, but now you piqued my interest in that. I think that was Trial Mountain.
Yeah, it is Trial Mountain. Yes,
okay.
That is it. Thank you.
Yes,
But,
you're welcome.
I don't want to see anybody get a penalty either. It's just, But we do need to pay more attention to this three-way battle because they're bunched up right now, and Jesser's getting right up on Shaggy's bumper, but it looks like Sugar Shuffles is in prime position to capitalize on any mistakes that any of these three drivers make. Got them too wide coming up into the start-finish straight. Shaggy holding the inside line, and it looks like he will take P1 from Mr. Ormond at the moment. Mr. Ormond is now right up on the bumper and giving a bit of a bump draft to carry a little bit of momentum coming into turn one. Mr. Ormond is breaking the slipstream to get out of that dirt air for the braking, and will he be able to get the overtake done in the S's? Jesser is also staying very much aware of the battle right here for P1 between Ormond and Shaggy Doo. Looks like Shaggy is defending his position magnificently. Coming across the first time check into the downhill section, Ormond breaking the slipstream yet again, and it looks like Shaggy will be holding on to P1 at this current juncture, but it looks like Ormond might have the inside. No, he falls in line. So will this be a game of last of the late breakers? Will anybody try and pull a hero stunt for the chicane? And no, it doesn't look like it. And looks like Sugar Shuffles has now entered the fray. This is a four-way battle for P1. So it looks like they've slowed each other down just a little bit, so nobody can afford to make a mistake, because if Shaggy were to make a mistake, he'd lose 3 positions, Ormond 2, Jesser 1, and you get the point. Coming into the second time check, looking at Sugar Shuffles being about 3/4 of a second behind Jesser and the little peloton forming up at the front. Looks like he's in prime striking distance. He's just really going to have to play the long game to see if he can get the overtake done for any of these positions. As all 4 of our front runners will go into the pits. Will they swap off the mediums and hop on the softs? Zilla is also in tow. Arnax will stay out. All right, so for the time being, Arnax has jumped 5 positions. That puts him in P1 and Angry Fredbird in P2 for the time being. And coming on into the first turn, Arnax is holding his line perfectly, but it looks like Angry Fredbird was able to carry quite a bit of speed, but not enough to stay right on Arnax's tail. As they come up towards the downhill section, how will this shake up? And looks like Fredbird will not try any stunts on the inside line, and is just going to follow Arnax as closely as possible. Honestly, I respect it. Looks like our front 4 have, well, really our front 5 have come out of the pits, and everybody is back into the swing of things. Fredbird's tires are actually looking pretty solid for being 9 laps in. What do you think, Slomo?
Yeah, he's holding on pretty good to those mediums there. As we see the front, what was it? The front 5 that came in, they all took another set.
Just have go off.
Yep, it was Jay Senior. It looks like power over slide.
Oh, oversteered. Yeah, Jay Senior fell back into what? P9. Yep, fell off into P9. Let's see what happened. So, let's see, Jay Senior coming in towards the hairpin and taking a wider line, bringing it in onto the curb, and it looks like just got a little bit of power oversteer. Luckily, it wasn't as bad as it could have been, but it is definitely unfortunate to see. So that will drop him all the way to P8 and back up onto the front of the grid, where Arnax has now got Shaggy and Mr. Ormond right behind him, and they just really moved past Fredbird like he was standing still. Ormond did just go purple by 0.003 of a second. And let's see if he can carry that momentum as he is getting very close. Oh my lord, look at the momentum he just carried.
Wow.
Just did right by Shaggy. And now he's 0.06 of a second up. So coming in through the chicane, almost 2 wide through here, flashing to say, hey, let me through. Let's see what Ormond can do to get away from Shaggy while he can. Looks like Arnax is not going to go down without a fight, though, but seems Ormond is on the inside. Arnax is now acquiescing the position to Shaggy and Ormond. Got a little squirrely coming out of there, but was able to keep the car pointed in the right direction. Yeah, getting behind Arnax really slowed Ormond down because he went from 0.06 to 0.75 of a second in terms of time. Oh, and we've got Shaggy making the send of the century on the inside. Will he be able to make it stick? And it looks like he will. There's a slight bit of overlap, so he's not going to get away that easily. Well, looks like Ormond is trying to set himself up for the inside line. Never mind, he's going to fall back right behind Shaggy. Never mind, he said JK. And up the inside he goes to take P1 again. What a maneuver from Ormond.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's whew. That was a lot of diving and a lot of switching back. He looked like he was trying to tuck back into the slipstream on the front stretch there, but he didn't want to take him out. But man, that was some great moves there.
Those were some great moves. It looks like Shaggy will take the inside line and get the overtake on Ormond again. These two are far from done battling. They both got fresh sets of mediums. I just hope they don't forget that the softs are the required tire here, so they'll at least need to hop on those once. But it looks like Shaggy is starting to pull away from Ormond. I don't know what he did that last lap to carry so much momentum, but I think Shaggy may have figured it out. Coming into the hairpin, we've also got Sugar Shuffles in the fray now, so it is a three-way bout for P1. They're separated by less than a second, so if Sugar Shuffles can keep the momentum up, he'll be able to start really putting the pressure on these two. Ormond coming through the second chicane and into the last turn. Will he be able to set up a maneuver on Shaggy? Looks like Shaggy is taking a relatively tight line, all things considered, and will hold on to P1 at the moment. Sugar Shuffles is just about 2 seconds ahead of Arnax at the moment, so looks like this is broken off into just the three-way battle for P1. Looks like Ormond is getting on the curb, and really didn't suffer any form of understeer. It looks like he had a lot of control over the car as they come into the S's. Looks like Sugar Shuffle is also keeping everything in nice and neat order, and also goes purple by just slightly over a tenth. Well done to Sugar Shuffle, and Ormond sends it and takes P1. These two are going to wind up just duking it out for the next 9 laps, aren't they, Leo?
Yeah, as we've seen, they've not stopped since they've gotten out of the pits. They've both been jockeying for position, making moves, trying to see if they can get past each other. It's incredible, honestly. Yeah, I've ran out of words because I want to focus on what they're doing to get past each other, because I wouldn't be brave enough to make any of these moves that these two are doing.
Oh, believe me, I wouldn't either, but Shaggy did get a little squirrely coming out of the hairpin, but was able to hold on to it. Coming over into the chicane, how is this going to shape up? They're all bunched together right now, and looks like this is going to be another send. Let's see if I'm correct in that assumption. And no, looks like Ormond was able to carry some speed on the outside line, but did get quite a bit of curving there. Honestly, these three are just going to be battling out like their lives are on the line, and it's making for some really great racing. Coming up into P1, Ormond is going to be, Ormond's going to be holding on to P1 at the moment. And it looks like Sugar Shuffle is definitely very much within striking distance, just slightly a quarter of a second behind Shaggy and Ormond at the moment. As these two are I swear these two are about to go too wide. And there we go. Shaggy sends it up the inside. Will he make it stick? He does. Will Sugar Shuffles be able to make the overtake on Ormond? He's carrying quite a bit of speed right now, but looks like Ormond will keep that door shut for Sugar Shuffles at the moment as they come into the chicane. It looks like everything is business. Oh my goodness, Ormond getting a little squirrely coming out of the second part of the chicane. All right, and coming up into the hairpin, any daring maneuvers from either of them? No, it doesn't appear to be so. Okay, so yeah, we've got some really, really strong racing here. Sugar Shuffle's getting onto the curb and holding onto it quite nicely. See what happens for this final turn. Ormond keeping the door shut to prevent any nonsense from Sugar Shuffles trying to take an inside line. And onto the start-finish straight they go. Looks like Shaggy's able to pull away just a little bit from Ormond and Sugar Shuffles. Coming into turn one, Shaggy's mediums are wearing a little bit faster than Sugar Shuffles, so at some point, Ormond and Sugar Shuffles might actually have a tire advantage and might be able to make something stick for quite a while, if I had to speculate. Coming across the first time check, Shaggy goes up by 300ths purple. Current fastest lap right now is Corridor 71 with a 126.029. And it looks like Shaggy is, he's really not making any movement forward or backwards with regards to the time between himself and Mr. Ormond. Kicked up quite a bit of grass, though, coming through that chicane, so that definitely slowed him down, and that just allowed Ormond the perfect opportunity to strike. So they're going to come side by side, and coming into the hairpin, Ormond has the inside line, and he makes it stick. He shoots, he scores. Coming across second time check, yep. Looks like Shaggy lost a substantial amount of time coming through there, and Ormond loses control of the car.
Oh no!
And Shaggy 2 is able to take P1, Sugar Shuffle takes P2, and Ormond somehow skirts away with no damage. Unfortunate, but it could have been a whole lot worse. Let's see what happened here. So coming out of the hairpin, Ormond is still in P1, and setting himself up for the chicane. Looks like the rear just kind of went out under braking. Am I understanding that correctly, Leo?
Yeah, that's what it looked like to me, Toon. I wonder if he had the brake bias set to the rear all the way and he just got heavy on the brakes to make that turn and just kicked the back end out like that.
That may have been the case, honestly. It was unfortunate to see because he was having a dynamite battle for P1 with Shaggy. But luckily, we've still got 7 laps left, and these guys still need to box and get on the soft, so it's anybody's race right now. Sugar Shuffle's going up by 1/10 for purple, coming in through the chicane, and we have a yellow on the play. What happened there? And it looks like it was P13. So let's see if we can figure out what happened there with Beef Castle. So, here we got Beef Castle coming through the chicane, keeping it nice and... I see. It looks like he just lost a little bit of grip from the... Oh!
Down the gas too early.
Yeah, just a little bit. And getting on that grass when you're... Or getting on that gas while you're still in the grass is a recipe for disaster, unfortunately. Moving back on board for the battle for P1 between Shaggy Doo and Sugar Shuffles. Looks like Shaggy's getting into a rhythm now. He's probably breathing a sigh of relief now that he doesn't have Ormond, you know, knocking him left and right in terms of, you know, battling for position, not in terms of contact. These guys have been doing some insanely clean racing, and you love to see it. Shaggy getting a little wide coming out of turn 1, but is able to hold on to it. Might have dirty tires, I can't really tell. But Sugar Shuffles is going to start making his way through. Yeah, they're going purple for the first sector, but it looks like they're really losing their time at around this corner, and then after the chicane, if I'm understanding this correctly. No, it's definitely not between time checks 1 and 2. It might be right here on the chicane and then through the hairpin. Coming up onto the hill, and it looks like Shaggy is... Yeah, he's still gaining some time on... he's still gaining some ground on Sugar Shuffles at the moment. But coming into the hairpin, let's see how this shakes up. And it looks like Sugar Shuffles is able to sort of hang on. Now coming into this chicane bit, and it looks like Sugar Shuffles was able to carry quite a bit of momentum and catch up to Shaggy. Unfortunately, they just had that last turn right there. But one good exit out of here will definitely propel Sugar Shuffles into a viable position to make an overtake. But doesn't appear to be this go around. We are on the 17th of 21 laps, and really these front runners are going to have to get on those softs soon, as we see Zilla hop into the pits. As you see in the picture-in-picture, we do have a battle for P8 going on right now between Corridor and Jesser. Looks like Sugar Shuffles has been able to pull quite a ways away from Ormond as well. That gap went from 2 seconds to 3 seconds, but I mean, God bless Ormond. He is still giving it everything he can, as Sugar Shuffles is now a 10th on Shaggy Doo right now. It is bumper-to-bumper racing as they come into the chicane. Let's see how close they can get. It looks like Shaggy gets a pretty solid run out, and actually got a way better run out of there than Sugar Shuffles did. So it looks like Shaggy can hold on to P1 for the time being. Coming into the hairpin, Shaggy taking a tighter line and getting the car out, not using all of the curving, but is able to just keep it rolling. Coming into the second chicane bit, and looks like Sugar Shuffles is able to close that gap ever so slightly. Coming into the last corner and into the uphill section, how will Sugar Shuffles fare? And it looks like Shaggy just got the better run out of there, as they both go into the pits to get onto the softs. Looks like they did not lose... They didn't lose themselves mentally, remembering what tires they needed to be on for... Ooh, hold on. Krulov getting onto the dirt over there, and it looks like Fredbird is pulling away. Jester's able to make an overtake, but Krulov does have the inside line, but it looks like Jester was able to carry more momentum on the outside as Krulov comes into the box along with Corridor. Now, Slomo, you have the tire trackers. Anybody that still needs to hop on softs?
Well, before the leaders went in, I would say as of right now, and I can search through the field real quick, I think we still have 5 drivers that are going to be coming in here in the next couple laps.
It was not 5? It's way more than I thought. All right, well, fair enough. Jumping back on board with our front runners, Shaggy Doo and Sugar Shuffles. They are definitely on the softs, and this is make or break time. 3 laps left, and looks like Shaggy's able to start pulling away. But I wouldn't get too comfortable there if I'm Shaggy, because Sugar Shuffles is right there, and he saw that slight little wiggle that you had on that curving. Coming on into the second chicane, and what will this tale tell? It tells the tale of everybody made it out alive. Thank God. Coming into the last corner for the 18th time of asking. And it looks like Sugar Shuffles wasn't able to get quite the perfect run out of there, but he's still within earshot of Shaggy. It's also amazing to see we have yet to see anybody get any track limit penalties. Like, no track limit pens, no pit lane infringements. So all in all, yeah, these guys are just making it look super easy, even though it probably isn't. Coming into the downhill section for the left-hander, Sugar Shuffles is up 4/10. My goodness. Getting onto the curbing and going to be using all the track afforded to him. Nope, just going to stop at the blue line and down into the second time check and over half a second up on purple. So into the chicane we go, and it looks like I think Shaggy's really gotten the rhythm down for that chicane. What do you think, Leo?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like he's gone through there flawlessly the past few times, so he's definitely figured it out, and he's gaining a lot of time between him and Sugar Shuffles. But I think RJ Sugar Shuffles is probably just biding his time to wait for Shaggy to make a mistake if he does, honestly.
Yeah, well, definitely.
And I mean, there's also the thing of Shaggy's on controller and RJ's also on a wheel, so there's going to be a difference between that and the tire wear for both of them.
You know, you do have a really solid point. Those controller drivers definitely have to deal with that bit of a, I wouldn't say a handicap. Maybe that'd be the closest word, I guess. The handicap of being on a controller is you're slightly worse on the tires, but it's easier to save the car.
Agreed.
For all intents and purposes, it is way easier to save the car on controller. Let's go and jump on board with Arsarzilla, who has been making a valiant effort and is currently about slightly over half a second behind Arnax. So we could have a last-minute hoorah for P4 between these two. As we are on the penultimate lap, it's still anybody's game. One bad incident could cost somebody their race at this stage. I'm into the chicane, and it looks like Zilla's soft tires are a little worse for wear. Do you think he may have come in a little too early? But it's hard to tell because he's also gaining quite a bit of ground on Arnax at the moment. As they come into the as they come to the hairpin. He got the move done. A dive bomb from the three-point line, and he made it stick. Well, looks like Arnax will not take that line down, as Arnax's tires are actually... Ooh, wow, those have seen better days. Zilla is able to hold on to P4 at the moment. Will there be an overtake in response coming in the last corner? No, it does not appear to be so. Will Arnax's tires be able to hold on for one more lap, though, as they come across to start the final lap for this Division B race? Those tires are looking a little sketchy to me. Leo, in your educated opinion, do you think it's enough to get through this lap unscathed?
The last few corners are going to be real sketchy for them. That would make me very nervous to be driving in that car right now, honestly. Yeah, them last two corners are going to be sketchy, especially through that chicane. I don't know. I wouldn't be racing on them.
Oh my God, he's back on track.
What a save.
Yeah,
what a save. Jumping back on board for the battle for the race lead. It looks like Sugar Shuffles is about half a second in closing. This is going to be for the race win if Sugar Shuffles can make this stick. Coming into the chicane for the final time. Will he be able to make a last hurrah? He's trying. God bless him, he's trying, and he is carrying quite a bit of speed, but Shaggy is on the inside. Will Sugar Shuffles be able to carry that momentum on the outside? It looks like Sugar Shuffles is able to taste the glory at the end of the rainbow. Almost
shut the door.
We got
just a moment. Got just a little bit of time. Can he get a drag race? No, quite. Ooh, so close.
Oh, what a
across the line. Whew. All right, and Ormond comes across the line to secure P3, 7/100th of a second between those two. Let's get a good look at what's just happened here. So Shaggy was able to keep his position just in that last corner, and then Sugar Shelf was using the slipstream, was trying to get it done, but wasn't able to carry enough speed at the right time. It takes P2, but by God, that was a blink and you'll miss it kind of finish. As all these drivers come across the line, this has been a very dramatic race from everything I have seen. There's been a lot of action, and it looks like the action's not done yet. So we jump on board with Stumpy and Strict9. Strict9's front right tire is gone. Somebody call the funeral home because we need that thing to get some service. It looks like Stumpy will be able to hold on to P10. Strict9 will take P11 and do a bit of rally crossing. Why not? Which means Fernando Button will take P12. All right, what a race. My God. All right, well, congratulations to PHG Shaggy Doo for another race victory. That is back-to-back. That is not something to scoff at. Now taking a look at the provisional race results. We have PHG Shaggy Doo 88 taking the race lead and fastest lap with an overall race time of 30 minutes, 57 seconds, 0.245, with the fastest lap being a 125.529. Coming in at 800ths of a second behind him is Sugar Shuffles, and my God, what a race those two had. But we can't say, my God, what a race without talking about PHG's Mr. Ormond, who had an unfortunate run-in in the race, but when he was up there with Shaggy, it was just a masterclass in battles for positioning. Making our way down the grid, we have Arsarzilla, followed by Arnax, rounding out our top 5. Angry Fredbird takes P6. Corridor 71 falls into the clutches of P7 for this race, followed by Krulov in P8. Stumpy will take P9, Strict9 in P10, followed by BHR's Fernando Button in P11, and Jesser forgot to change tires. Oh no.
Yeah, he never took off.
Jesser will incur a 1-minute time penalty for getting to change tires. That is just unfortunate to see. Oh. And then rounding out our grid will be Beef Castle, who unfortunately just could not catch a break this go around. But hats off to him. He stuck it out to the end, and that is very commendable. Wow. Slomo, starting with you, what did you think of what we just saw?
Well, that was an awesome battle at the front. Those guys were jockeying for positions all the way through the race. Unfortunately, we saw Ormond, who kind of got a tough incident there and kind of lost his chance to stay with the pack. But man, that was incredible. One notable thing, Fredbird did a one-stopper through that race, so that really helped keep him in a good position to get himself in the P6 there. So he was the only one I saw that did a one-stopper throughout that race.
Yeah, that was very impressive. Leo, what are your thoughts on what we just witnessed?
Well, now that my heart rate's calmed down from watching all that, excellent race in between all these drivers. I mean, as you said in the beginning of the race, we got some world-class drivers, and it shows. I mean, these guys were going too wide everywhere. Even throughout the field, they were doing that and giving each other enough space. And, I mean, it's excellent driving, and I love to see it. But y'all got to make my heart rate go back down because I can't take another one of those races right now.
Yeah, honestly, now that we've seen, our perspectives, let's go and get the perspective of our top 3 finishers. After I just received a word from production that we have some more donations. So what have we got here? We have a $4.99 donation from Santa Miguel. Says, way to go, everybody. Thank you, Miguel. Very, very much appreciated. We also have a $10 donation from PHG Duke Thunder. Let the races begin. As always, enjoy everybody that helps make this a success. We greatly appreciate you both for your support, and it's just great to have you guys in this community, even just hanging out and spending your Friday evening with us. So, where to start? Let's start with Mr. Ormond. Mr. Ormond, what a valiant race you had. How are you feeling after that?
Honestly, I'm also still trying to calm my heart rate down a little bit. I mean, that was probably one of the most intense battles that I've had on Gran Turismo flat out. So definitely very, very satisfied with the P3. Definitely bummed I got caught up in the chicane, just barely clipped that curb and just completely sent me off into the grass. So I did everything I could to try to get back up to them, but unfortunately was just not able to pull through. But still happy with the P3.
Yeah, honestly, the way that battle ended was just heartbreaking. So let's take you back in time to when your heart was still beating at like 200 beats per minute. As you were battling with Shaggy, what were you trying to focus on to try and make the overtake stick on him?
So mainly I was just focusing on, his breaking points, trying to outbreak him, but not outbreak myself. And then the times that in that final turn where he was able to get on my inside when I was doing a later apex, just making sure that I stuck it out all the way to the curb, kind of hug next to him, or at least drop back to get a little bit of a draft and try to pass him again into turn one. All those back and forths were really awesome. So definitely great job to him for keeping it on track. And yeah, I mean, overall, it's just looking for those gaps and trying to get the momentum around him in such a tight, twisty track like that.
All right, fair enough. That it sounds like you had a lot going through your head. Slow-mo,
I
any
did.
questions for our P3 recipient?
Yeah, first of all, congratulations. Great race. Obviously, we saw that there was a little unfortunate loss of traction at one point. With your strategy, were you happy with the way it played out? Is there anything you would have changed, now that you're looking back on the race and getting your heart calmed down a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, really just trying to avoid that curb. I definitely took just a hair bit too much of it. I say that's definitely where the fallout happened. But I mean, overall, after qualifying P3, I was pretty satisfied with the P3 end result.
Yeah, well done. Well done. Leo, what do you have for Mr. Romand?
Hey, Mr. Roman, congratulations on your P3.
Thanks,
My
sir.
question is that after that first pit stop, you came out of that long left-hander and turned into a rocket ship. How did you manage that?
Honestly, I was just trying to keep my head down. The mediums are a little bit more tricky around this track compared to the softs. And just also trying to manage the tire wear as well. I was thinking maybe do like an extra lap on the mediums or maybe even come in early on the softs. But I knew after the practice I was able to put in that the softs just probably weren't going to last. So as soon as they came into the pits, I just had to follow suit and just see what I could do to pick back up.
Yeah, excellent. Well, congratulations. It was fantastic to see you battling Shaggy there.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the most intense battles I've had. So very grateful for that and still very happy with the P3.
Yeah,
Yeah,
indeed.
that P3 is definitely nothing to scoff at. And honestly, with the way you were battling with Shaggy, I would definitely petition to go for PHG Elite after that one. That was just a masterclass in racing. But congratulations. And thank you for your time. Hopefully you can rest and relax, and hopefully you're excited to see what the semifinals has in store for you later tonight.
Thank you. Absolutely. I appreciate that.
All right, let's go and move on over to one of everybody's favorite livery designers between him and Sal. RJ, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, doing well, guys. Doing well. How's everybody up in the booth?
Fantastic. Leo's trying to get his heart down. I'm trying to just make sense of what we saw in slow-mo. All right, so you had pretty much the best seat in the house to the battling for P1, and then you got yourself thrown into the mix. When you went from P4 all the way up to P2, what did you have to adapt mentally? And just because you went from going as an observer to a participant in this battle?
I just kept my head down for the most part. I had a great show getting to watch that the whole time. So kind of let me get into that rhythm of just hoping they were going to continue to battle and continue to put on that show so I could catch up. So I was kind of prepared when I got up there. Once it was finally, Shaggy and Ormande, I was actually content, as long as I was keeping up with them, to just let them keep battling back and forth. I was just content sitting back until we got a little bit later, because we were still in the middle of that second stint for us, and I didn't want to mess up that early. So just keeping my composure and not over driving, which I had already been doing, just trying to catch up. So
All right, I got you. Slow-mo, any questions for the man, the myth, the livery legend himself?
Yeah, well, first of all, congratulations on the second place finish. That was that was awesome. Tell us a little bit about the end there, coming into the last turn. It looked like you guys kind of went door to door for a minute there. You ended up back in the slip. We thought you were going to get it done. Tell us a little bit about what you were trying to get done there at the last turn.
yeah, when we came into that last chicane, I knew Shaggy was going to take it as easy as he could, because you're basically just parking it no matter what. And so I was just trying to get any kind of run through there. And of course, my run, perfectly set up by Shaggy, was on the outside. So it left him in perfect position on the inside. I, I I knew I still had a chance, but I sent it a little deep on the final corner. I definitely still had room to keep it a little more door to door, and that really killed my exit speed. So at that point, it was just hope and pray I can get enough slip. But I didn't think I had enough. But it was close, man. I was just happy to be staying with Shaggy that whole time.
Yeah, 8/100ths back. I mean, that was a great finish. Well done,
Thank you.
Leo. What do you have for RJ?
Hey, RJ, congratulations on that P2.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah. Did your strategy change at all since you started working your way up to that P2 level? Like, did you have to switch anything, or is that what you planned on doing the whole time?
No, that was basically the plan. I did have it in my back pocket. I could switch. I'll be honest with you, because I caught those guys, I was composed driving the car, but my strategy kind of went out the window. That I did try testing running one more soft lap. And if I would have been thinking about it a little bit earlier, I might have tried to jump them by coming in early and just having to have them pass me on a little bit more worn softs. So I stuck to the strategy. It was everybody else's strategy. It might have been a winning move, but who knows? I'm not going to dwell on it too much. P2 is a P2, and a P2 to Shaggy down here with us is a pretty darn good P2. Congrats to Shaggy and Ormonde on that P3. It was a fun battle up front with you guys.
Agreed. Yeah, that's no small feat at all to be there with them.
Yeah, congratulations on the P2, RJ. Hope you're excited to see what the semifinals have in store for you. And thank you so very much for your time. You put on an amazing race.
Yeah, thank you guys. You guys put on a great broadcast, so keep it up, and I'll be tuned in for a second race tonight. Take care, guys.
You too, buddy. All right, moving on over to the Division B undefeated alien Shaggy Doo 88. Shaggy, how you feeling right now?
Hungry, actually. I didn't eat dinner yet, so that is the first thing I'm going to do after this, and sit down and watch the Division A go at it. So looking forward to that as well.
All right, fair enough. So you pretty much had somebody wanting that P1 off your hands from start to finish. We'll start with Mr. Ormond. What were your thoughts on the battle you had with him in the heat of the moment?
I wasn't trying to push it. It's really easy to botch either one of the chicanes. And the way these cars and the tires, especially when they get war with the mediums, yeah, it's a hazard. And you can easily do what I think Jester did, or Jay Senior, and then what Mr. Ormond did later on, where you just lose your grip. It's gone. And yeah. So battling him, I wasn't trying to push too hard. I didn't want to hit him. That was my main goal. Don't hit your teammate. Don't hit RJ. Don't hit anybody. Don't hit the wall. Yeah, just trying to stay pretty even with him. And then if you got ahead, only pass if there was an opportunity. Don't force it, because the more we battle, the more the guys behind us are going to catch up.
Yeah, that was definitely evident with RJ catching up and then having him on your heels. But Slow-Mo, over to you. Any questions for Shaggy tonight?
Yeah, Shaggy, well done, man. I know we talked before the race. It looked like you stuck to the strategy you had planned out. Same question I really had for RJ, and I don't know if you heard his answer, but tell us a little bit about that last turn and how you held off to get the win.
Kind of let off a little bit on that last chicane just to make sure I didn't botch it. That way, I had full grip on the exit. Lost a little bit, but just enough to keep me further ahead to where I went into the corner. It was pretty much my corner. Keep to the apex. I knew RJ was going to go to the outside, and I knew he was going to get a run. So it wasn't like I had to. I wasn't going to block him or anything. I was going to let him run it out if he could. And well, it was pretty close. But if the slip had been on high, I would have probably ran this race a little bit different. But I think it was on low, so it wasn't as effective. Because if it had been on high, he would have made that run and passed me by the time we got to the finish line.
Right. Yeah, that was an exciting finish. Well executed plan. I always love it when a plan comes together. So well done, Shaggy. Leo, what do you have today for our race winner?
Hey, congratulations, Shaggy. As always, it's good to see you up here. I'm going to ask you, how did you stay so calm with both of them two being on your door the entire time, racing that close? Because that's the part I'm wondering about.
I was watching my mirror most of the time. Just if they got to run, I was going to let them do it. I'm not going to fight too hard because my tires, being on controller, I'm burning them up. That's what the main thing was. That's why I couldn't really get away. Maybe a little bit on the first few laps of the medium stints and then a couple laps on the softs. But after that, I was just holding on because there's just no grip. They're dying very quickly.
Yeah, indeed. We said that during the broadcast that it may have been a controller versus wheel thing again, and you proved us right again with the controller.
Yeah.
Well,
So
congratulations, man.
I couldn't push any through the race. I had to basically just stay the course. I did a practice race before this. It was a couple seconds faster than this lobby turned out to be. I don't know how that's possible, but as much battling as it did.
Yeah, that was quite a bit. Well, again, congratulations. I'll kick it over to Toon.
Yep, congratulations for a back-to-back race win. You were just dominating right now, but yeah, if that slipstream had been higher, that could have been separated by thousandths of a second. But you fought hard, and you've definitely got quite the appetite, so get out of here and go eat, man. And we just hope you're excited to see what you're going to have to contend with for the semifinals.
Right. And, thanks, Mignotti, as always, for putting on a great production, y'all. I'm sure y'all did as well. I couldn't exactly see it. I was kind of busy battling Mr. Armand to pay attention to that. But congratulations to them. I'm really proud of Mr. Armand. We picked him up pretty recently to PhD, and yeah, he's showing some serious speed. It's awesome. Same thing with RJ. Like, you watch these guys and you remember when they were up and coming and in the C ranks and the B ranks and whatever, and then they make it to the A ranks, and you're like, man, you start seeing speed and you're impressed by it, and I'm starting to see that, and I'm really proud that to have such a clean race with them as well.
Totally get that, but yeah, thank you for your time, Shaggy. You have a great rest of your night, man.
All right, man, thank y'all. You have a good one.
All right, and with all of that said, we're going to take a brief intermission, so please go grab you a snack, pull a Shaggy, go get something to eat, go get a drink, take your dog out, go to the bathroom, do what you need. But we will be back at you here in a few minutes with more racing action, so stay tuned. Welcome back, one and all, to the second round of the NRL fifth season, brought to you by Hankey's Tavern and Little J CPA. Toon, Leo, and Slow-Mo here with you. Very happy to have your company this evening, and we had a very fun race with Division B, and it's time to get into the provisional standings for what we saw in Division B. Then it's on off to Division A. So looking at the provisional standings, we have PHG Shaggy Doo 88 with 51 points after a valiant race against Sugar Shuffles, who is currently sitting in P2 with 30 points. Rounding out our top three will be Arnax with 28, followed by Ormond, who pulled on a masterclass in racecraft today against Shaggy. Rounding out our top five will be Stumpy with 17, who is actually tied with Horror 71 at 17. Making our way down the order, we have Sarzilla in P7 with 12, followed by Krulov in P8 with 10, who is tied with Angry Fredbird, might I add, for P8. Followed by Beef Castle in P10 with 6 points, followed by Jesser and Strict 9, tied for P11. And we have a tie for P13 between Z48 Car and BHR's Fernando Button. All in all, that was definitely a sight to behold. I would hate to have missed that race. Now making our way on over to the race details for Division A, let's get a refresher on what they are up against. Rain. Fun. Now, for our Division A for round 2, our drivers will be at Autopolis in the Golf GTI Supersport VGT for 16 laps. They will be able to use the racing hards, the racing mediums, the intermediates, and the wets. I think those last two are going to take a lot more prevalence. There will be a 10-minute qualifier. There will be a BOP not on, and no tuning is allowed, so all drivers had to send their setups to McNutty for verification. There's a 5 times tire wear, 2 times fuel. It is a grid start with false start check and heavy mechanical damage. Going on over to the points spread, it is back to Slow-Mo at the points desk to explain to you how this all shakes up.
Thank you, Leo. Thank you, Toon. As you've seen with our previous races, these guys are going to acquire points through each race they participate in. So they're trying to get their spot in the final. The race winner is going to get 25 points. The points go down from there, 18 for second place, 15 for third place. If the individual is in the top 10 and has the fastest lap, they will get an additional point awarded to their total. So that helps them accumulate enough points for those coveted final positions.
Thank you so much, Slow-Mo. Now, looking at our driver lineup for Division A this evening, we have Alicos, Bobagito, Chief Papalo 11, The True Serum, Dark and Azrael, Deputy Fishtail, Lagtastics, PHG Fast Cougar QC, PHG Jorge Sr., PHG Papa, PHG Rick Shear, RSR Ace R1, Subi 15, and Talon. Listed under their names, as always, is their team affiliations or free agency, whichever one is applicable to the drivers, as well as their social presences for YouTube and Twitch, should either of those be applicable. Feel free to go and take a gander and see if any of these drivers are live, but please make sure to leave this tab unmuted so you do not miss any of the racing action. Lord have mercy on these drivers. Division A, Autopolis in the rain. The last time we saw Autopolis in the rain was Season 3, isn't that right, Leo?
I believe I believe so. If not, it was Season 2. I can't quite remember. That was a while back.
Oh no, it was Season 2, you're right.
It was Season 2. That's correct. Yeah, we were here.
Jag.
Yeah, we were in the Jag. And it was dark and raining. It's a little brighter this time. And also in a 4-wheel drive vehicle.
Yeah, that 4-wheel drive is really going to play a huge factor in keeping these cars on the tarmac. Am I mistaken?
No, you're not. They've definitely got more grip than I would say that Jag did, but we don't know what the weather's going to be like either. So it could dry up and that 4-wheel drive can help or hurt depending on how it pans out.
All right. Slow-mo, do you have any predictions for this upcoming race?
No, more questions than predictions. Obviously, we know it's raining right now. I think one of the big questions that I have is, are these guys starting on wets? Or are they going to go intermediates? Once that rain stops, both of those can deteriorate quite quickly. The wets obviously deteriorate faster than the intermediates, so there could be an advantage to going intermediate. Right now, the question is how long does it rain and how long does it take the track to dry out? I feel like the track can sometimes, when I did some practice laps, it seemed like it took forever to dry out, even if after it quit raining. Leo and I were both on track yesterday, and it seemed to dry out a little bit quicker. So I think that's going to be, really interesting to see how that affects each driver's strategy for what tires they're on, when do they go to slicks, if they go to slicks.
All valid points, and yeah, there's definitely going to be more questions than answers, but let's go take a look at qualifying and see if we can get those. Oh, I'm getting word from production that we need just one more moment. So, Leo, you did practice laps for the Division B race. Did you do laps for Division A?
I did do some laps around here, even though I did have some apprehensions because of the race I had here, but it actually turned out really well. This car is really good in the rain, and I was quite shocked. I was like, okay, this isn't as bad. It's got a lot of speed, got a decent amount of braking, and somehow drives better in the rain, in my personal opinion.
Okay, what do you mean it drives better in the rain?
It felt more solid in the rain, or I have become more comfortable with the rain. One of the two has happened.
Okay, I gotcha. So, okay. Now that does make quite a bit of sense. And now I don't know how this VGT GTI works. Is it turbocharged? Is it naturally aspirated?
It is turbocharged. I would believe it's the VR6 with the turbocharger slapped on top of it. Unfortunately, Gran Turismo does not give us the specific specs of the car, but to my ear, it sounds like a VR6 because it's got the Wookiee noise that all the VR6s makes, and also a turbo that goes swoosh.
All right. So, do you think we might see what is it? When the turbo kicks in, you get that power oversteer. Do you think we might see something along those lines?
It's possible. When I was running laps, I did feel it kind of try to power oversteer, which is odd for an all-wheel drive vehicle, but so is braking and it just turning left or right depending on the slight angle of your steering wheel.
All right, so the big thing I am hearing is these drivers are going to have to take this very carefully.
Yes, they are. They've got to be really cautious about getting into the puddles on the track. I noticed when I did that, I lost all traction. I did that on the intermediates. I didn't test on the wets. Slow-mo, did you do any testing on the wets by chance?
I did. I ran some wet laps or laps on the wets. It's funny you were mentioning that you think the car is more stable in the rain. I rode along board with you for a little bit yesterday, and I think you put up some pretty good lap times on dry. So I would almost speculate that you're just getting really comfortable on the wets. But back to the question, the wets they're good. This track seems to hold a lot of water. So I think that it might not be a terrible strategy to go on wets, but I think they're also going to deteriorate really quick if you do that.
Okay, I just don't know how the wets perform after that tire update a few months ago, because we never really get the opportunity to use the wets or the intermediates. Like, some will argue, oh, the intermediates are actually better, but I don't know. Maybe it's just personal preference or something. But it looks like qualifying is underway, and they are off. Looks like we'll be jumping on board with Chief Apollo 11 in a very, very shiny Golf GTI. I like that. I like that oil slick look.
Yeah.
Really? Is that what that's
Yeah,
called?
it's where the colors shift as the sunlight hits it.
Ah, I always just call that oil slick, but you know what? That definitely has a better name to it. But anyway, jumping on board with Chief Paulo, he is a free agent driving on the Logitech G Pro wheel in PSVR2. This is going to be an interesting race. And we last saw him at round 1, where he finished P10 on Dragon Trail Seaside Reverse. You can find him on YouTube at Boyd_Gaming. Yeah, that rain is really coming down right now, my lord. So what do we've got a slight tinge of the blue bar, so we're just above 2/3 of the bar full, and Talon is alright, it looks like Talon was able to hold on to it quite nicely. Looks like he's getting off the throttle to try and get some space between him and the cars ahead. Really clever thinking from Talon. Don't want to run the risk of any accidents, especially because these track conditions are very very treacherous. But look over at Talon's driver card. Talon is a free agent on the Logitech G Pro wheel using the good old reliable G29 pedals. We last saw him in round 1 for Dragon Trail Seaside Reverse, where he finished in P5. He's got a very nice simple purple livery on his car. Looks very nice, honestly. Just simple, no need for some extra razzle dazzle. And moving on up to PHG's Rick Shear, who will be starting his hot lap coming into turn 1, and I was getting kind of worried that car wasn't going to stop there for a second. But coming over into turn 2, and it looks like everything is well and good. I see that Rick Shear's on the intermediates at the moment. Rick Shear's part of Team Papa's House of Game, driving on the Fanatec DD Pro. We last saw him in round 1, where he finished in P3. Rick getting losing a little bit of time, possibly outbroke himself and doing a small bit of drifting from what I saw. Coming into the sweeping left-hander for Autopolis and holding it nice and neatly. It doesn't look like there's any semi-dry lines on this track at the moment, Leo.
No, there's not. The track is completely soaked. With Rick being on these intermediates, I mean, I ran mainly intermediates when I did my laps, and it is treacherous. You've got to back up your braking point way back. But if that track, as we see him doing some rallycross, at least he saved it. Didn't spin out. Yeah, and didn't spin out. Didn't get no heavy damage, so that's perfect. Not that he went off track, but that he saved it.
Yeah, thank goodness he did save it. But when you were doing the practice laps, Leo, were you getting more rain or were you getting more sunshine? As we also jump on board with Alicos at the moment, who is part of Team Infinite Octane Racing on the Thrustmaster T598. Last saw him in round 1 at Dragon Trail Seaside Reverse, where he finished P9, and you can find him on YouTube at Alicos.
And to answer your question, Toon, it would start out soaking wet like it is, and then it would steadily drop off. So when me and Slow-Mo were in there, it would dry up pretty quickly, and the intermediates did definitely shine more than the wet tires did.
Okay. I don't know, it's just hard telling what's going to happen. It looks like there is a semi-dry line forming, though, at the moment, at least where Subi is. Subi did come across the line, and he's sitting at P6 at the moment. Subi is also a free agent on the Logitech G Pro wheel. Last appearance was round 1 of Dragon Trail Seaside Reverse, where he finished P4. And you can find him on YouTube at Sue.B15. Let's see, Dark and Azrael currently has the fastest lap at a 1:58.982. So, all in all, seems like a very respectable time. We've still got just under 5 minutes left, so it's anybody's game at the moment. Also, taking a look at the NRL livery on Subi's GTI, and got to say, I kind of like it. Yeah, just something about the way the colors are lined up and everything, just very well done.
It's simple.
Now, yes, very much so. Now, I did see that Rick Shear and there was another driver, I think it's Chief Apollo. We do have some PSVR drivers, but Leo, correct me if I'm wrong, there's no cockpit camera for this car, is there?
That's a great question, and unfortunately, I do not have the answer to that. I would assume not, since it's one of the VGTs, but it could be one of the ones that does. Gran Turismo is unfortunately picky about which one gets a cockpit versus which one doesn't.
All right, I could see that. Maybe you could also answer this question for me then. What's the model for PHG?
Great racers, better people.
He had it that time. As we jump on board with the Truth Serum, who's a part of Team Sector 7 Racing, driving on the Fanatec podium, we saw him last time in round 1 at Dragon Trail Seaside Reverse, where he finished P6. Now, honestly, a P6 finish at Dragon Trail Seaside, honestly, I think we could see a P5 or something from Truth, especially because that track is just as slippery. Coming across the line, he is currently sitting in P6 overall for qualifying with about 3 minutes left on the clock. Looks like Azrael is satisfied with his time and has hopped on the mediums. Fast Cougar is currently sitting on pole with a 1:58.013. And it would also appear that the track is actually drying up at the moment, so the rain has stopped. Will we see some sunshine? Hard telling, but Jorge Sr. is now in the pits, and so is Fast Cougar. I think they both realize that the track has dried up a tiny bit, so they might be trying to get a faster lap going on as we jump on with Lagtastics, who goes purple by 1/10 on the wet. Jorge Sr. has decided to opt for the mediums, as did Fast Cougar. They're going to have to be very careful about those curves. Lagtastics tires screaming for life as he comes through the hairpin at the moment. And taking the dry line, didn't really didn't expect the wet runners to be on the dry line. Now, I do also want to say, Leo, you were right with the way that engine sounds. That is, that's very Wookiee-esque, I guess you could say. Don't know if that's really a word, but oh well. Lagtastics goes purple by over 3/4 of a second. Thank you, slow-mo. And coming over towards the penalty line into the downhill braking zone, Lagtastics is a part of Team Infinite Octane Racing on the Thrustmaster T598. He's on last time in round 1 at Dragon Trail Seaside Reverse, where he finished P12, and you can find him on YouTube at Smack Attack Mac, all one word. And looks like we've got Papa doing a spot of rally crossing on his intermediates. Let's see what's going on up here. So Papa's currently sitting in P5, just went purple by 1/10. So he might be able to outshine. Oh, actually, never mind. Apollo just outshines Truth's 153 with his own 153.396. Coming into the hairpin, taking it a little gingerly. Good to see. It looks like Papa, just due to the wet weather, has put on that, what is that, ASM? Yeah, I think that's ASM is the triangle.
Correct, it is.
Okay, so he's got ASM on to try and keep the car pointed, and I mean, I do not blame him. I'd be using everything for this. He's gone blue by a second and a half. Getting a little squirrely, but he's able to save it. And you can see Papa is streaming at the moment in the picture-in-picture view. Feel free to go check him out and just leave this tab unmuted, and please let him know that Toon, Leo, and Slow-Mo say hi. And coming on over into turn... Actually, coming into the latter half of the lap. Probably getting on the curb just a little bit. Yeah, this track dried out really quick now that I'm thinking about it. Looks like he won't have enough time to go and take another crack at this as qualifying closes in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And this is the last lap for all the drivers. So coming to the last corner, and out he goes. Where will he wind up? He winds up in P2, up 2 seconds from his original fastest lap, and he did it on the intermediates, no less. Bob Gito does have P1 at the moment with a 1:52.561. It's make or break time, so we're gonna have to see if somebody the likes of Jorge Sr. will be able to make a last-ditch effort to go and take that podium position. Jorge does have quite the advantage as he is on the medium tires and not on the wet, and he is up almost an entire second. Looks like Chief Apollo comes and finishes his last lap, so we're going to have to wait with bated breath to see what Jorge does. He does have some slight constrictions on where he can and can't drive just due to trying to stay on that dry line. And coming in towards the tail end of this lap, he's got to make this left-hander. Will he stay off the curb? And he does. Looks like Talon will take P1 at the moment with a 151.571. Yeah, everybody's coming in and giving it their best efforts at the 11th hour. And coming in towards the final corner, let's see how he takes this. Staying off the curb as to avoid losing control, just feathering the throttle, and off and away he goes. What will it be? A 47, a 48, a 49, 49,
Oh, wow.
Jorge Sr. goes purple by 1 3/4 of a second. I believe that is everybody, is it not?
I think Fast Cougar is just coming around the last turn there.
Yep, it sure looks like it. And he comes across the line with a 150.804. So those people that hopped on the mediums, that was definitely a wise call. But come race time, I don't know if it'll be as cut and dry as that, because that pit lane is going to take forever to dry up. But moving on over to the classified qualifying results. Jorge Sr. will take pole position with the last minute 149.830. Fast Cougar will take P2 with a 150.804, almost a second behind Jorge Sr., but I mean, that's still an impressive time, no less. Rounding out our top three for the starting grid will be Talon with a 151.571. Sharing row 2 with him will be Darken Asriel with a 152.338. Starting row 3 and rounding out our top 5 will be Bobajito with a 152.561, followed by Chief Apollo with a 153.116. Making our way down the order, we have Subi starting row 4, followed by Papa accompanying him. And going on over to P9, we have Alicos, followed by the True Serum with our 5th row. Row 6 will be W Fishtail and RSR Ace. And rounding out our starting grid in row 7 will be Lagtastics and Rick Shear. This is going to be a very interesting one, guys. Unpredictable weather. The drivers don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen. McNaughty doesn't know what's going to happen. So it's literally a game of anything can happen. Sweet. It's built just for me. Nice. I like that. But Slomo, what'd you think of the qualifier?
You know, that was really interesting seeing a couple of those guys hop on the mediums as quickly as they did. They were able to identify a little bit of dry track, a little window there where they could get in some really good laps. That made a huge difference. Boy, those are fast times. Leo, don't you agree? I mean,
I do agree. That's about pretty close to what I was setting. I figured when Jorge Sr. went in and he saw the track drying up, he's like, all right, I could full send it now. I figured that was going to be the case. One or two guys were going to be like, all right, track's drying up. Let's see what I can do. And they definitely executed what they wanted.
Yeah, it's definitely, I don't know, I'm still reeling from just how they had the wherewithal to go in and hop on the mediums. Just the amount of confidence they had to get out of that pit lane unscathed and get it going is just astounding. But we have a grid start with a false start check in the pouring rain. Lights are coming on. Round 2, Division A. This is going to be a very dodgy start for some of these drivers. I can already see it now. But lights are off, and it looks like nobody really had any issues, so to speak. Some drivers may have had a less than ideal start, but they are off. I would say cold tires, but cold tires is probably an understatement at this point. And it looks like Fast Cougar will very gingerly take P1 off of Jorge Sr. for the time being. And it looks like Dark Azrael will take P4 at the moment. He's quite side by side with Talon. Coming into turn 2, and Dark Azrael just darts on by. Wow. Ooh, okay. Oh! A little bit of contact, but looks like no real harm was done. Looks like Bobagito's also trying to poke his nose up, and same with Papa. Okay, so it's already unraveling in lap 1. Moving on over with Talon, who is really in the thick of this. Got a car in front, car in back, car to the left, car to the right. Yeah, he's pinned. And as we jump on board with Jorge Sr. at the moment, who is probably doing everything he can to get away from that giant gaggle of cars. And yet he is darting away. I would not want to be anywhere near that pack. Looks like the rain is staying at a moderate tempo. Doesn't look like it's going to get any worse as Jorge gets on the curb and manages to keep the car pointed in the right direction. That is a testament to that man's skill. Fast Cougar is definitely staying close behind though and will not let Jorge Sr. go without a fight. Making their way to the towards the tail end of the lap, and let's see what happens as they come into this sweeping right-hander. Will we see 2, 3 wide? Will everybody play it safe? Let's just find out. Now, Slimo, we did have the standing start. We do have quite a bit of rain. Was anybody brave enough to hop on the wets?
No, Toon, actually, we've got an entire field that went intermediates from the start.
Okay. Wow, I was honestly not expecting that. I thought 2/3 full, it'd be wets territory, but I mean, shows what I know. These guys are on the track and I'm in the booth. We jump over to Subi, who is close behind Chief Apollo at the moment. Looks like Chief Apollo was able to carry quite a bit of speed and is able to put a safe gap between himself and Subi at the moment. Coming in towards the hairpin area. Like everybody's keeping it nice and neat. Glad to see. Leo, if you had to, well, I would say if you were in a race like this, you have been in a race like this. Speaking from personal experience, when the rain is coming down like this, what do you try and prioritize in terms of the racing?
Just keeping my distance between me and the car that's behind me, making myself very predictable, because one wrong move and you could take out the whole entire field. That's generally what I would do, and having the rain radar up is key. And I have a sneaking suspicion we're about to get more here shortly. I don't know, I feel it in my bones that it's going to happen.
All right, well, we'll definitely have to wait and see, but very good input. And it looks like Truth is right up on Papa's bumper. Yep, great racers, better people, right there in big bold letters. Coming in towards the tail end of the lap yet again, and I gotta say, I do like Truth's urban camo colored car. Very nice. I don't know, something about that color scheme just gives me happy feelings. And jumping over to Dark and Avril, who has an infinite octane racing variant of Papa's livery, coming to finish lap 2 is about 3/4 of a second ahead of Talon, 3/4 of a second ahead of Talon and about 3/4 of a second behind Bobagito. Talon is sending it though. My goodness, that was dodgy. It looks like Subi outbroke himself a little bit too, but nobody won't first spot a rally crossing. Great control of the car from both of those drivers. Let's go and take a look at the replay and see what happened and how he was able to save this. So, coming into turn 1, got Chief Apollo right up there. Ooh, looks like there might have been a slight nudge. It looks like it wasn't really detrimental, and it would appear that Chief Apollo did let off to make sure Talon didn't lose any positioning. Good show of sportsmanship from Chief right there. Got a nice little bunch right here between Talon, Chief, Subi, and Papa. Everybody's staying relatively close together, all things considered. I mean, in terms of what... Okay. All right, Chief was able to get that back on track. That was looking... felt my heart stop for a sec. That was not going to be pretty. I was for train of thought on that one, honestly, but... I mean, I found it. In terms of wet racing, this has to be like the equivalent of bumper to bumper, right, Leo?
Yeah, I mean, they're all bunched up right on top of each other, and me personally, it would make me so nervous, because it's not only your race that you would end, it would be the guy behind you in front of you. Like I was saying earlier, if I was in here, I'd want the most space between me and the other person. I'd wait until it dries up and then start pushing. In the rain, there ain't no way for me to do it.
Okay. Do you think this race might be a little kinder to the drivers as opposed to the
It feels like it is. But then again, back when I did do that race, I was pretty new to the scene and didn't know a whole lot. So most of these guys, we've all seen them race prior, and they've got a little time under their belt. They had 2 weeks to get it under control, and it shows that no one's doing nothing crazy yet.
Yeah, I'm honestly glad to see that nobody's doing anything crazy. I don't think this is a time for heroics, but it does look like the rain has come to a halt. So the track is starting to slowly but surely dry out. Those curves will definitely, well, the curb and the pit lane are going to be the last things to dry out. Don't know which is going to be the last thing to dry out. I'm hedging my money on pit lane itself. But we jump on board with Bogagino, who is a part of Team Cornbread Racing, CBR. Driving on the Fanatec BD Pro, we last saw him in round 1 where he finished podium P2 at Dragon Trails B-side reverse. It looks like Bogagino is sitting up a little over a half a second behind Fast Cougar. So all things considered, that is definitely a safe distance to be. And I can also see that the dry line is starting to form, so I would kind of start hypothesizing within the next, I don't know, what, 3 laps? We'll see everybody hop on the mediums? I don't know, Leo, with the track drying out like this, do you think it'll be another 3 laps, 2 laps? Do you think somebody might feel a little frisky and go box this lap for mediums?
I wouldn't say this lap. The track is still entirely way too wet for that. Once that tire meter in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen gets down to that, quarter of a bar, I would say, then it would be safe enough to hop on these slicks. But until then, I would suggest, like you said, about 3 laps to 4, maybe, is what I would do.
All right, I got you. And we talked about your experience driving this. Slow-mo, did you get a little car time for this combination?
I did. I'll tell you, I'm glad nobody was watching that because, man, this car is a lot to handle if you haven't put in a lot of time in practice. One thing I think that's really important for these guys, especially right now, is just being patient, making sure you're, setting yourself up for the next turn coming up. Don't let yourself get out of position and keep the tires on the track. As soon as you get off track, boy, it gets really unstable and slippery.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. With this track drying out, we've definitely seen the tire wear is definitely coming into play for these intermediate tires. And also, Bogagino did just go purple again, and it looks like he's going to hop back onto the wet line to try to conserve a little bit of that tire life. Do a little hydro dipping, I believe the term is, for getting back on the wet line. I know there's grass dipping, but it's definitely a valid way to cool down the temperatures and just get a little extra longevity out of those tires. And coming in towards, the last segment of the circuit, looks like Bogagino is starting to lose a little bit of ground to Dark and Asriel. Honestly, as this rain has been drying up, the grid really hasn't fanned out too terribly much. Looks like they're all keeping it relatively clean. They're keeping it nice and close, and it looks like Truth is holding on to...
What happened here?
I swear I saw Papa there for a second. Where'd he go? Well, let's take a look. Okay, so here we have Papa coming through, getting onto the wet line, and making his way into the right-hander. It looks like he just got a bit of a nudge and went off the circuit. Unfortunate to see, but luckily he was able to get back on with no issues whatsoever. That might be a steward's inquiry. I don't know. I am not a fortune teller. But I also can tell you with 100% certainty that Papa's tires are not looking too hot right now. halfway done on those fronts in a four-wheel drive car, so Leo, that would indicate what? That the brake bias is to the front?
More than likely. Unfortunately, this car naturally wears the front tires. I was actually in the lobby with Papa last night, and he ran out of tires, and I had to push him into the pits.
I do recall you saying that you were bumping him into the pit and getting a good giggle out of that.
Just a little bit of one.
A little bit? Okay. Yeah, do a slight bit. But Fishtail's tires, I think that Fishtail's gonna have to box. It looks like he has his blinker on, letting the Lactastics know to go around. So good wherewithal to signal the faster driver. And it also looks like Papa did a spot a rally crossing. Won't be the first time we see somebody do it. Yeah, it's definitely not going to be the last either. And Deputy Fishtail's front left tire has left the building. Looks like Papa's front tires are not too far behind either. Well, it's amazing to see how Fishtail's tires, the front left went out before the front right, but Papa's are falling like in uniform fashion. We jump on board with Jorge Sr., who is going to ignore the opportunity for a pit stop at the moment, try and get an overcut done, and hop on the wet line. Hop from wet line to line, and just keep on trucking along. This might actually work out in his favor. Although, as we see some of the drivers leaving the pits, looks like that pit stop really isn't all that long. Fast Cougar has opted on the mediums. I thought I saw somebody hop on the hards, so it looks like we've got quite the variety in tire strategy. Slow-mo, maybe you could shed a little more light on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Boba Judo went in. He took a set of mediums. Then you had Callan, Dark and Azrael, Alikos on the hards, and Fast Cougar took a second set of mediums.
Okay, thank you, Slow-mo. Well, with there only being 9 laps left, do you think taking the mediums was the right call, or do you think the hards were the safer option?
Boy, that's tough to say. I would prefer the mediums on this track if I had the choice. But then again, the longevity is going to be important. You know, when they get down to the end of the race, are they going to have enough tread to keep rolling?
I gotcha, and would also like to make note that looks like Talon and Lactastics, well, at least Lactastics outbroke himself due to the, recently deceased front tires, and that afforded Fast Cougar et al. To get a position, and Lactastics outbreaks himself, and he is off at the moment. Will he be able to safely get back on? It looks like he will. That was a lucky rejoin from the car with the 777 on the back. Looks like Chief Apollo will be able to hopefully get around. Same with Truth. Lactastics is going to have to just nurse that car back into the pit lane as Truth and Chief get past, and looks like Jorge and Stubby have gone into the pits. And now that puts Fast Cougar in P1 for the time being. Coming into turn 1 on a grind cut, and Leo, with how many positions Jorge just lost? He went from P1 to P8. Do you think the overcut was a gamble that he lost? Because he lost quite a bit of ground right there.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think so. He should have gone in a lap earlier with the way he had to slow way down to even make a turn with them dead tires. It lost him so much time. And then going into the pits after everyone's already gone, I think it was a bad call.
You know, I am definitely inclined to agree with you. But as we jump on over with Chief Capallo, who is now enjoying quite the dry track, about 3/4 second behind Truth, but that just caught back up pretty quickly. Also went purple. So it looks like everybody's going to be able to start really getting into the rhythm for these last 8 laps, because we are now halfway over with this race. And I gotta ask, I've been seeing people kind of short shifting this car, but not really. I don't know. It looks like you have to shift this car in a slightly odd way, because maybe it's just the drivers themselves, but I do see like a lot of playing with the gearbox for this car. Leo, could you possibly shed some light on that as we jump on over to Bobagito?
Yeah, so when I was actually running the laps, I was actually playing with the gears, as you see. Like, when you come into a corner, I'd be down a gear, then midway through the corner, shifting up. It seemed to have enough horsepower and torque to actually pull out of the corner in a higher gear. So that's probably what you're seeing, is them downshift real quick to a really low gear to get the rotation, midway through the corner, clicking up, going up another gear, and sending it through.
All right, I gotcha. Thank you for the insight there. I would also like to throw out that the clouds have parted, the heavens are open, and sunshine be raining down on these drivers. Have a glorious day. It looks like Talon is going to have to defend against Bobagito, who is currently trying to find a good way to make the overtake. But Talon did get a little squirrely from getting on that curve. And it looks like Bobagito gave him a nice little bump, so he's not trying to make any overtakes right now. Dry line is starting to expand a little bit, so that'll open up some more overtake opportunities. As Bobagito hops on the wet line, a bold move. And coming into the braking zone, trying to use as little of that curb as possible. God, getting on that curb and on racing hard, I don't know. That's too brave of a move for me, and that was really brave from Bobagito. Getting all that curb in there and coming in, he's definitely got a good pace on keeping up with Talon. So we could see maybe some too wide racing at the start-finish straight between these two for position. Looks like Fast Cougar is slowly but surely pulling away from Talon and Bobagito at the moment. So he can breathe a slight sigh of relief, as he also sets the fastest lap with a 149.326 as the sun just shines down on that man. Coming into the braking zone for turn 1 and holding it nice and neat. Yep, this track's going to be bone dry by the end of this race. Curbs, maybe. But Fast Cougar is definitely falling into that rhythm. Now, slow-mo with Talon and Bobagito. I see that Bobagito's on the hards. Did you say that Talon was on the hards too, or is he on the mediums at the moment?
No, you're correct. Talon's on the hards. Fast Cougar is on the mediums. So there is a tire difference there between 1 and then 2 and 3 are both on hards.
Okay, so yeah, that extra grip will definitely come into play, especially towards the tail end. It looks like the mediums are definitely chock full of life. They might actually have 6 laps in them if they continue this trend. So it's really looking like hard or mediums. There was no wrong answer. And Truth in P5 is keeping it close to Alico's at the moment. Just a little over 3 tenths of a second. My apologies. So there could be a move for P4 from Truth if he can play this right. I know parts of the track, especially the curves, are still wet, and I mean, if history shows us anything, and experience is the best teacher, with those curves being wet and you're on racing on like the racing flicks, one wrong move on those curves and you could definitely ruin your race. I do see that Truth is hopping onto the wet line to cool the tires down. Brilliant thinking from S7R's Truth Serum. Into turn 1, getting a little bit onto the curb and is able to keep control of that car. It being a 4-wheel drive really does make a difference, doesn't it, Leo?
It does. Yeah, I've seen quite a few of them drivers actually hop onto the wet line, as you were saying earlier, just a second ago, to cool the tires off, keeping the wear down. But yeah, this 4-wheel drive does afford you to be a little bit more brave going on the curbs and exits of any wet surface with the slicks.
That is very true, but you gotta remember there is a fine line between bravery and recklessness, so we'll just have to see if we can get through all this unscathed. And honestly, seeing how they can just tackle all of these obstacles, like the wet curbs, comfortably riding the wet line on racing tires, you would not have been able to do that in the Jag, would you?
No, not at all. Unfortunately, with the Jag being rear-wheel drive, it had a lot of power to put down, and you had to be super, super delicate. With this car, though, you could be definitely a little more reckless. But like you said, there's a fine line. So if one of these guys pushes it, they're going off into the grass and they become a lawnmower.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. It looks like Alicos is very valiantly defending his P4 from Truth at the moment. He is about 2.5, 2 3/4 seconds behind Bobagito at the moment. But my God, he is carrying a lot of speed right now. He's pulling away from Truth. He's catching up to Bobagito ever so slightly. And coming into turn one, yeah, turn one's almost completely dry. Even the curbs are starting to dry out. We got 4 laps left. It's still anybody's race. Anything can happen. Anything will happen. Well, we know we can go another lap where it's sunny skies, and then we'll go back to torrential downpour. We could have a bipolar race at Autopolis. It looks like Truth has closed the gap to Alicos at the moment, but Alicos will have to just defend like a madman to keep that P4, because we've got the semifinals coming up in the next round, so every point matters. But looks like Truth is able to get the overtake done on the inside, and will Alicos have a retort for that? Does not look like it. Truth is just carrying a little bit more speed on those racing mediums, so Alicos on the hard, getting a little squirrely, but was able to hold on to it quite nicely and getting over to the wet line to cool the tires just a teensy bit. As they come into the downhill section, I don't know how they manage that. These downhill braking zones in the rain, slow-mo. I really don't.
Well, I mean, right now the track is as dry as it's been all race, so I mean, they're able to really push their braking point to the edge and get good traction while doing it.
Yeah, very true. I wonder if these drivers are sitting here thinking the hard part's over, or if they're kind of having a kind of cautious optimism. Now, Leo, were you able to get any perspectives from some of the Division A drivers, perhaps?
Unfortunately not, Toon. A few of them were just wondering what the weather was gonna entail. That's what they were mostly worried about. I did hop in with Fast Cougar at one point in time, and he was definitely practicing in that wet weather for sure.
Honestly, I have seen a trend. When there's a potential for wet weather in an NRL race, they will practice the daylights out of that wet weather, even if it's not guaranteed.
Indeed. Yeah, you kind of almost got to get used to it, because, like you said, we don't see it very often, but maybe once in a blue moon. And it's something to get more comfortable with, because there's places that rain. According to Gran Turismo, some places don't rain, though.
Yeah, if that was the case, then that'd be we'd have a very different climate. But anyway, we'll not get into that. Chief Apollo is currently sitting about 1.25 seconds behind Alicos and 1.25 seconds ahead of Dark and Azrael. So he's in like a mini no man's land at the moment. And okay,
Slightly turned the car into a surfboard.
Yeah, slightly put that thing on rails by getting on that curb and coming around and jumping on over with Truth. Looks like Bobagito is still a decent ways away from them at the moment, but I mean, one little slip and Alicos could definitely come and take P4 off of his hands as he comes onto the start-finish line for the 13th time to start lap 14. Goes purple, set the fastest lap at a 1:48.051. Since we did all the qualifying in the rain, I really don't know what to expect for a dry, fast lap. But what I can expect is Truth's tires may just have enough life in them to survive to the remainder of the race. His front left is about half, his front right's at slightly over half, and the rear tires, well, rear tires is fine. Getting onto the curb and coming into the hairpin, and looks like Truth will be able to, yeah, he'll be able to start closing that gap to Bobagito. So this might be this might be a long game, even though we got 2 laps left. I think consistency will bring Truth closer to Bobagito as we look over at the timing board for Truth. Setting 148 and then consistent 149 to 148 in there. So he's in the 48 and 49 territory. Did see a 201 and a 205, but that was probably when the rain was still, you know, a factor. And coming on in, getting on the curb just a little bit. Yeah, it seems like these drivers are really starting to get a lot more confident in their driving ability, Slow-Mo.
Well, that, and I mean, with the track being a lot more dry, they're pushing it a lot harder. Although I think they're trying to be delicate on those tires, to be honest with you. I mean, if you look at somebody like Fast Cougar, you know, he's on those mediums. That left front it's getting low. Granted, he's only got really 2 more laps here.
I got you, Slow-Mo. Unfortunately, I have to cut you off because Truth just really closed that gap to Bobagito. And he's definitely in prime overtaking position. So if Truth can nail this corner just right, he might be able to take P3. Looks like Bobagito will get on the defensive and get on the curb to stop any nonsense. And Bobagito does do a slight bit of rally crossing. That will slow him down just a little bit, but that gap is really starting to plummet. Coming up towards the hairpin. Can Truth get on the inside to get the overtake done? No. Looks like Bobagito will keep that door shut. Yep, he slams that shut to stop Truth. That is some excellent defensive driving from Bobagito. It looks like Truth's tires are definitely getting ready to start kicking the bucket here in a minute because his front left's at a quarter and Bobagito on the hard has better tire life. So at this rate, it's a game of speed versus longevity, which is going to be the one that comes out on top. Bobagito is currently not even a quarter of a second ahead of Truth. One little slip, one dip of the toe into the grass, and it could be position costing. And so the pressure is definitely on for Bobagito at the moment as they come up towards the sweeping corner, and it looks like Bobagito will keep a tight line just to prevent any nonsense. And I do want to also throw out that Bobagito is sitting on less than a quarter of fuel. So, I mean, it's got enough to finish the race, but that car's getting very light, and that's got to play a factor if they accidentally hit a wet line wrong, because light car, no grip, and Truth's fuel light is on now as they finish this penultimate lap. And coming onto the start-finish straight, looks like Bobagito will start pulling away once again and has about an 0.8 of a second lead on Truth at the moment. But Truth does have Alicos within earshot of him. Looks like Truth just slightly outbroke himself. Yep, he is definitely feeling the effects of those warm medium tires. And Alicos is going to definitely use this opportunity to try and catch up and close that gap even further. Alicos' fuel light is on, and those hards have a solid bit of life in them, all things considered. As they come into the hairpin, looks like Alicos might be able to get something out of this. Mayhaps. I know he was revving the daylights out of that car into the chicane, so it looks like this is definitely a car you want to rev to the limit. Ooh, Alicos understeering a bit, was able to get it back on track. That was a little too risky for my liking. But coming into the braking zone after the time check, just outbroke himself a little bit. I don't think Alicos will have enough gusto in him to close that gap from 1.2 seconds to be able to make the overtake. As we jump on board with Talon up in P2, about 1.5 seconds behind Fast Cougar at the moment. Looks like Fast Cougar might be able to finish this race in P1 as long as he can stick to his line and not make any mistakes. That front left tire, though, that one might be out to get him. We'll just have to see how this goes. He is 1 3/4 seconds ahead of Talon, and that gap is now plummeting. I think Talon might be able to have better grip, but unfortunately it didn't come at the right time as Fast Cougar comes across the line to take the race victory with Talon in P2, Bobagito in P3, followed by Truth in P4, just narrowly holding off Alicos in P5, followed by Chief Apollo in P6. Making our way over to Dark and Azrael in P7. Jorge Sr. will take P8. Ooh, and he has rear end damage too. Wonder what happened there. Followed by RSR Ace taking P9. Will he have enough fuel? Oh, he does have enough fuel. All right. Now we've got a three-way battle between Lactastic Subi and Deputy Fishtail. Okay, Lactastic's tires are gone, and Deputy Fishtail still has his blinker on, but looks like Lactastic was able to hold off Subi and Deputy Fishtail, and now we jump on board with PHG Papa, who will round out our racers for this race. Looks like he was able to hold on quite well with the tires, and actually was able to save quite a bit of fuel too, all things considered. Having a leisurely drive, that's something that doesn't hurt on a Friday evening. And across the line for the proprietor of PHG himself. Y'all thought I would go through a broadcast without saying that word? All right, so congratulations to Fast Cougar, who gained a position and was able to take the race victory. Going over the provisional race results, we have PHG's Fast Cougar QC with a total race time of 30 minutes, 0.673. Coming in about a second and a half behind him will be Talon, who had a personal fast lap of a 148.955, but didn't have the overall fastest lap. Rounding out our podium for this evening will be Bobajito from Cornbread Racing. Making our way down the order, we will have S7R's The Truth Serum with a personal fastest lap of a 148.051, followed by Alicos, who was right there on his tailpipe. Finished, I'd say that's slightly over 4/10 behind him. Then making our way down the order in P6, we have Chief Apollo, followed by Dark and Azrael. Taking P8 and the fastest lap will be PHG's Jorge Sr. with an astonishing 147.723. That is a blisteringly fast lap. Going over to P9 will be RSR's Ace R1, followed by the tight bunch of Lactastics, Deputy Fishtail, and Subi 15. Though that little gaggle of cars finished not even 3/10 apart. So that was a dangerously close finish for all three of them. And then rounding out our racers for Division A will be PHG Papa, who had a personal fastest lap of a 149.270. Wow, that was a race. We saw people roll the dice. Some people came out on top. Some people, the dice just weren't in their favor. Slow-mo, what'd you think of what we just saw?
Yeah, that was some absolute excellent driving from these guys in both conditions. Wet, good timing onto the racing compounds. We did see one unfortunate incident. I saw a driver that went in and took a fresh set of intermediates. That was Subi. He actually had to go back in and get another set of the racing compounds after that. So just that was an incredible run by these guys, really making it look easy driving in the rain. And trust me, it is not. If you'd have seen me driving yesterday, you'd have probably giggled for a while. But those guys made it look so easy, and that's how you can tell they put in a lot of work here.
Yeah, they definitely put in a ton of work. Leo, what are your thoughts on what we just saw?
Another clean race. I'm glad these guys, kept it on track as much as they tried to. I know the weather threw them for a loop with not knowing what's going to come next. I commend them for keeping it on track with dead tires, as we saw when the track was drying up. I mean, that front left was gone, and some of them, it hurt bad, and I'm glad nothing bad happened with that. But good, clean racing overall. It was fantastic to watch.
That it was indeed. But let's start making our way over to the driver interviews, shall we? So we're going to start off with our P3 finisher in Cornbread Racing's Bobagito. Bobagito, back in the booth again. How are you feeling after that race?
Well, pretty good. I get to talk to you all. That means I got on the podium. So, yeah, good night.
Yes, sir. So it was a lot of rain, and normally it's tradition for drivers in the NRL to practice rain religiously. How much time did you spend just practicing driving in the rain, be it qualifying, doing race starts in the rain, just anything wet weather related?
Yeah, I ran the race several times this past week, like maybe 10 races. Every time it seemed different. This was the way that the rain came after it dried up again. I didn't experience that one time in the previous 10 races that I tried. So it was complete random, complete surprise. And actually, I was panicking there. I don't know what lap it was, like lap, I don't know, 7, 8, something like that. And I didn't know if I needed to come in and pit again and put on inners again because of the rain. So it was pretty pretty dicey there.
Totally understand that. Slomo, any questions for our P3 recipient?
Yeah, congratulations on that podium finish, Bobagito. Tell us a little bit, as you practiced, you obviously came up with the strategy of when you wanted to switch onto the racing compounds. It felt like the track dried out really quick today. Did you feel like that was similar to the way you practiced, or was there any difference in what you'd been experiencing with your practice sessions?
Yeah, no, sometimes some of the races I didn't switch to racing compounds until like lap 9. Some of them you had to switch on like lap 6. And if I was on 9, I could have took mediums. If I'm on 6, I like to take hards and try to make them last because I was burning them off. So yeah, it was a toss up. It was completely unknown, and you have to make that split second decision. It was tough.
Yeah, that was well done. Great driving today. Leo, how about you?
Hey, congratulations, Bobagito. Glad to see you back up here. How much did you watch that radar that Gran Turismo gives you to see what was going on? Did you have it up pretty much the whole race or periodically?
Yeah, I'll be honest. When it started raining again, and my eyes were glued to that radar a little too much. In fact, that's when Talon went right by me, and I didn't even know he went by me until like a couple turns later. I was like, wait a second, he's in front of me. I was sitting there looking at the radar and not paying too much attention to the race. But congrats to him and Fast Cougar for getting up there.
Indeed.
Well, congratulations, Bobagito, for a very valiant race. Well-earned P3. Happy to see you in the booth again. And I hope you're looking forward to see what you'll have to contend with in the semifinals.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, guys. Appreciate y'all.
All right, and making our way over to our P2 finisher in Talon. Talon, I think this is the first time I've been in the booth with you, unless I'm mistaken. So, 'tis an honor. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. After an NRL race, talking to you guys means it's a good result, so I'm happy for it.
Glad to hear it. So, wet weather, you are no novice to it. And it was Autopolis. I believe you were in the NRL for the second season. Am I mistaken?
Yeah, I think the third season was my first around, but I definitely remember that race and all those poor souls in the Jag trying to make it around that track in the heavy rain. And if I remember, I don't think they were allowed to use any assists like traction control or anything either. So I think we had it a little bit easier this time with these Volkswagens. They actually drove pretty well, being four-wheel drive, and yeah, it was actually a pretty fun little car.
Glad to hear it. So, how much preparation did you do over the mini off, like during the mid-season break we had, just trying to get this car down and trying to get comfortable with the potential for nonstop, like torrential downpour?
Yeah, similar to Bobagito, I probably did 10 or 12 races just kind of on my own in single player. And, what happened in literally all of those races did not happen in this race. I figured with the first three slots of the six weather slots of the options there, that it would be wet for almost half the race. And that's how it pretty much was in all my practice sessions. So it was usually pit on lap 7 or 8, pick up slicks. And from there, it was mediums because I could make them last the rest of the race, and then just kind of keep an eye on the radar. If rain came back, do whatever. But this one, it seemed to stop earlier, and the track was good in my opinion. I think it was lap 5 that the three of us pit. I don't actually even remember. There's a lot going on. And I'll be honest, I never even practiced on the hard tire because I figured it was going to be wet enough to just take the mediums and either run those to the end or take the mediums, get the best out of them before another rain came in. So I hadn't even practiced on the hards, but I knew I wasn't going to be able to make them last 10, 11 laps, whatever it was. So it ended up being the right call, but I was a little nervous there because we went out for a couple laps and I saw another cloud come in, and I know some of those guys stayed out on their intermediates a little bit longer. They were smarter than me and were probably checking the radar, and I wasn't. I was just looking at the moisture bar for the tires and figured, all right, I'm coming in. It's too many laps left to make the mediums last. I'm taking the hards, and we'll see what happens. So thankfully, that other bit of rain that came in didn't rain enough to cause problems.
Yeah, luckily there wasn't any more drama or anything like that. Slomo, any questions for the leader of the free agent racing team?
Well, Talon, congratulations on the podium finish tonight. Well done there. First things first, I got to tell you, I loved the I call it the purple Diablo, the shiny purple car you had there. The livery looked great. I know you and I talked a little bit before the race, and you mentioned that you were going to try and do the medium stints. You talked about it a little bit. You may not know, Fast Cougar actually took mediums and ran those all the way until the end. Do you think had you have gone in on mediums at that point that you would have been able to A, make them last, and then B, also maybe push a little bit harder towards P1?
Honestly, probably not. I know my limits. I'm not like horrible on tires, but I'm not great
Yeah.
on them either. And just doing the practice lobbies, a 9 was about the most I could get out of them. So I remember the three of us went in. Obviously I took the hards. I couldn't remember if Cougar took the hards and Bobagito took the mediums or vice versa. I was kind of hoping Cougar took the mediums, and I was thinking if I can just keep them in my sights towards the end of the race, this is going to come to me, but it didn't. So he drove really well. I wasn't able to reel him in even in the last bit there. But, this was a crazy one. The qualifying was crazy. I was really happy to end up third. I figured it was going to be a one-lap shootout as the track dried out, and a couple guys went out on slicks at the end, and that was probably the right call. But, I was pretty happy with qualifying third, and to come home second, I'll take that.
Yeah, absolutely. One other question for you, and I was watching very closely with Fast Cougar's gas tank, and it was really low when he came across the finish line. I know fuel wasn't really an issue unless you were revving it out. Were you concerned at all about fuel towards the end of the race?
Not really. With the slower fuel refill rate, the 3 liters per second, that really motivates us to not have to refuel because it's just painfully slow when you're sitting there. So I kind of figure what I would do is during the wet laps, do some extra short shifting and lower revs, which is typically what you do anyway. Save a little bit of fuel up front and then let her rip towards the end. But I think the car did just fine accelerating, shifting at 6,700 RPM instead of, really winding it out. So I wasn't really worried about it towards the end, but that doesn't mean I wasn't watching it. There was a lot to keep track of in this race. I like to run more front brake bias in the wet to keep the back from kicking out under hard braking, but more in the rear in the dry, keeping an eye on the fuel and obviously the weather as well, and then trying to keep that radar up too if other cars are close. So there was a lot going on. Congrats to the podium, Bobagito and Fast Cougar. Well done, guys. I think the strat really helped me this race. There's a lot of fast people in this group here, so getting on the podium is an honor. So appreciate it, everyone.
Yeah, really, really great insight. Leo, do you have any questions for Talon tonight?
Yeah, actually I do. Congratulations, Talon, for getting up here. It's good to see you. when the beginning of the race kicked off and it was downpouring rain, what was some of the thoughts going through your head?
Don't hit anybody and don't lose the car, because I started on inners and I figured most people were going to. You kind of put up with them for the first couple of laps and they come to you as the track starts drying out. But it's a little sketchy there in the first couple of laps. So, everyone's obviously bunched up. Everyone looked like a pretty decent start. I figured the cars around me were on intermediates as well, but there's no way to know. So if someone's like really creeping up on you, then maybe they're on wet tires and they might start to try to push. But yeah, the first couple of laps are usually just don't hit anybody on the first turn, or ever for that matter, but the first turn when we're all really congested. Try not to lose the car, lose any positions. I think I lost 2 places in that first lap. Just kind of got in the wrong part of the track and the other guys were able to take advantage of it. So, fair play. And, again, if it wasn't for pitting when we did, it probably would have been a different story. But, sometimes strategy gets you there.
Yeah, indeed. Well, again, congratulations. And guess we'll get to see what y'all get to do this next go around.
Yep, looking forward to it. Thanks, Natty, for the race. Thanks, everyone driving around me. And thanks to the announcers and the stewards and everybody. So take it easy, guys.
Thank you. Have a great night, and maybe we'll get a naughty endurance race sometime in the future. And with that,
You guys saw that, huh?
Yep,
Yeah.
saw that.
Oh yeah.
Good.
I'm advocating for it. But with all that being said, we're going to take a intermission, and then when we come back, we will have the Division A standings and the reveal for the semifinals. So once again, go get a snack, grab something to drink, take your dog out, call your mom, do what you need. We'll be right back in just a few minutes, so sit tight. Welcome back, everybody. We have had, well, an exhilarating night. And unfortunately, this is the part where we start to wind down and look towards the future. Toon, Slow-Mo, Leo, all here with you. Happy to have your company this Friday evening. And it's time we go and take a look at the Division A standing. All right. So the provisional Division A standings, pending Stewart review, is going to be Bobagito in P1 with 33 points, with Jorge Sr. falling very close behind in P2 with only a 2-point difference. Rounding out our podium for Division A on Friday will be Talon with 28 points, followed by Fast Cougar QC with 25, Detrusium with 20, Rickshaw with 15, Alicos with 12, Subi with 12 as well in a tie for P7, followed by Dark and Azrael with 10, Chief Apollo with 9, Papa with 6, RSR Aced R1 in P12 with 2, Lagtastics with 1 point in P13, and rounding out our Division A drivers will be Deputy Fishtail with nil points at the moment. Luckily, there's still more racing to be had, so it's definitely anybody's game. Anything can happen, anything will happen. And with all of that, let's go and take a look at what our Division B drivers will be dealing with for their semifinal. Okay. Ooh, interesting.
Ooh.
So, for the semifinals for the Division B for Friday, we will be at Fuji in the Nissan GTR Group 4. You will be able to use the racing softs, racing mediums, and have access to the intermediates and the wets. So rain is a-coming. There'll be a 10-minute qualifier, grid star or false start check, BOP will be on with brake balance allowed, heavy damage, 3 times tire, and 2 times fuel. I, for one, cannot stand Fuji. Leo, what do you think of this combination?
I love Fuji. I am going to be the exact polar opposite of you. I love Fuji. Fan of Group 4, but that's okay. The GTR is actually a really nice car to drive. It's gonna be it's gonna be a long one though. This is a pretty decently sized track. In 20 laps, these guys are in for a long race.
Indeed. Slow-Mo, what are your thoughts on this pairing? You're the tiebreaker on love or hate Fuji.
Well, unfortunately, I'm no help there. It all depends on what the car is. For me, the GTR is a great car. I personally enjoyed the GR4s, so I'm looking forward to it. I think this might be something that maybe I would be able to hang with some of these guys on. So I think it'll be an exciting race.
I think it's going to be an exciting race too, and just because none of us could agree it was a Goldilocks and Three Bears situation, we got a yes, we got a no, and we got a maybe. I don't know, we'll leave it to you at home to decide. Well, let's go and take a look at the semifinal for Division A. All right, we're going to be at Suzuka in the Porsche 919 Hybrid 2016 for 20 laps. Racing softs are the only racing tire available, and you'll have intermediates and wets available to you as well. There will be a 10-minute qualifier, grid star with false start check, BOP on with brake balance allowed, 3 times tire, 4 times fuel, and heavy damage. Now, Suzuka, I quite like. I enjoy Suzuka. Leo, what are your thoughts on this pairing?
I love it. High downforce car at Suzuka, sign me up. I love doing the super formulas around here and in Group 1 as well. A lot of these corners are going to be real high speed, especially with this 919 hybrid, which I also have experience with. The only thing I see is a bit of a sprinkle, I think, on screen. I don't know if that's just a frame rate issue I have. Oh, getting word from production, it's actual rain. So good luck, everybody.
All right, Slow-Mo, what do you think of this pairing?
You want to talk about a car that'll get up and go. That car is fast. Obviously, it's got a lot of downforce to it. They're going to be zipping. They're going to be flying through there. Rain is the great equalizer when it comes to this combo, I think. So they're going to have. I imagine we're going to see a lot of rain practice going on this week.
Yeah, I definitely think so. Honestly, between the rain from this week and the rain that's inevitable for next week, it's hard telling which round's the kitchen sink round. So I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. But this is definitely going to be a fun pairing. All of you drivers on Friday, well, start practicing your rain starts because you might need them. Now, be sure to tune in tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 o'clock British Summer Time for Round 2, hosted by the beautiful voices of Flaw Genius Gaming, T-Case, and S7R's Tatty. Oh, wow. They've definitely got quite the lineup for next week. They got for tomorrow, they got Monza and they got something else. It's eluding me at the moment, but all in all, it's definitely not one you'll want to miss. But with all of that being said and done, one last thank you to Hanky's Tavern and Little JCPA for the generosity in sponsoring this league. We greatly appreciate both of you for your support. We would also like to thank all of you watching at home. It has been an honor and a privilege to entertain you all for the last couple hours. Want to give a thank you to all of you who donated. That was very generous of you. Never feel obligated that you have to, but it definitely goes a long way. And with all that, I say it's time we get out of here. So if you want to catch up with us outside of this broadcast, you can find Leo over here on YouTube, where he streams iRacing, GT7, and whatever else over on Leo2443 on YouTube. You can find Slow-Mo streaming GTA Golf, occasional GT7, and whatever else tickles his fancy on YouTube at GT-Slow-Mo. And if you want to find me and, hang out or just yell at me for cursing you, I'm over primarily on Twitch at V2Nix, where I'm already yelling at people playing Baldur's Gate or whatever else sounds fun at the time. But with all that being said, please do tune in tomorrow for the Saturday broadcast. And until next week, y'all be good, stay warm, stay well fed, stay safe. And we will see you for the semifinals next week. Bye-bye for now.